How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.
no facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final time. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final
And lastly, we ask that there be no recording or streaming of today's sessions from the floor. And any disruptive behavior in today's session will result in being removed from the call.
We please ask that there will be no recording or streaming of today's sessions from the floor. Any disruptive behavior today could result in being removed from the call. So, just be a nice person. So with the little housekeeping things out of the way, let's jump right in.
Again, we ask no recording or streaming of today's session.
And we ask that there be no recording or streaming of today's session from the floor. Any disruptive behavior in today's session will result in being removed from the call.
Won't anybody help us? What are we running for? When there's nowhere we can run to anymore. We can't afford to be innocent. Stand up and face the enemy. It's a do or die situation. We will be invincible. And with the power of conviction, there is no sacrifice. It's a do or die situation. We will be invincible.
Who the fuck is Karlyn? She's just some sweet lady. She's like in a knitting. She does like a knitting stream. She's like a knitting YouTuber. She does knitting.
Can we grow up a little bit and
Alt
not
Girl
be
sent $200.
retarded?
Have you
Please.
seen the work of Karlyn Borysenko? Anti-commie cult leader and is obsessed with looking at what actual far-left communists are talking about and organizing today, infiltrating them. They infiltrated the universities, schools, media. She has the receipts to back it up. Primary source evidence. Infestation is dire and she calls Republicans idiots eating slop. Agree.
Thank you for the big super chat. Yeah, I know Karlyn B. She's solid. She's funny. I
The
like
break
her.
noticer sent 200.
Literally.
So
Not Ian.
it's not because I haven't dangled my junk into the combat zone on purpose to get some camera footage, but that's the big part of what's the
Is
problem.
that what you call reporters?
Go
and live
under, if
streaming?
you're going to do it,
Yeah,
go
seriously.
undercover. Otherwise you're wearing a hunk of meat and a lion's den. Nick Shirley, I love you. Take care of yourself, man. Karlyn Borysenko went undercover. Do stuff like that. Like if you want to expose this thing, don't pariah, please.
But Ian, here's and I agree with you to an extent.
What up, guys? What up, guys? It's Thanksgiving. I love Thanksgiving week as like a general rule because it gets so quiet because everyone has like totally pieced out for the holidays. Everyone's already thinking about turkey. I have to go pick up the ingredients for Thanksgiving tomorrow, because of course I will be cooking Thanksgiving. This is like the one day of the year that I actually make an effort to cook. Listen, I can make a really good burrito. I know, like, I can make a good burrito any day, but that's like not hard. All you have to do is like cook the beef, and you do some seasoning on it, and then you shred some really good cheese, and then you make the right. That's all you have to do to make a burrito. That's not cooking, okay? That's not cooking. When I am brining a turkey, because you have to start the brining process the day before. You have to make the brine. You have to let the brine cool. You have to put the turkey in the brine. You have to babysit the turkey in the brine. You have to stay up all night to turn the turkey over in the brine to make sure the turkey is evenly brined. And my brine is fucking awesome. I have molasses. I have honey. I have soy sauce. I have a metric F ton of salt. Because that's really the key ingredient in any brine is salt, because you got to basically put like a whole thing of salt into your brine, because that way the salt pushes all of the rest of the brine into the turkey, and my turkey comes out really, really dark because there's molasses and like honey and soy sauce in the brine. So it comes out really dark, and it's so good. It's so good. And this is the only day of the year that I actually like put an effort into cooking. I make my grandmother's stuffing. It's pork stuffing. And so it's really, really good. I make the turkey gravy from scratch. I'm not making it from any freaking mix. Okay. This is the one day of the year I act like I know what I'm doing in the kitchen, and I make food. So I got to go pick up my ingredients tomorrow, and I'm pretty excited about that. And, you know, for Thanksgiving week, I typically find that people just chill out and everything's quiet, and you can actually get stuff done, which is great for me, which is awesome. Trendlin says, what did you do to piss Jake Rattlesnake off? Do you want to know the truth of it, Trendlin? Do you want to know the truth of it? I vaguely remember Jake Rattlesnake getting angry at me over something. I don't remember what I did. Obviously, what was he talking about me or something? Because this happened a while ago. Like, obviously, like, it impacted him far more than it impacted me, because, like, Jake Rattlesnake is Andrew Wilson's, like, best friend or something, right? And Andrew Wilson, as we know, is a massive, massive, massive pussy. But Jake Rattlesnake and Andrew Wilson have a show together. And I don't even really know who Jake Rattlesnake is or what his deal is. I just knew that he wanted me to debate Andrew Wilson. And I said I would on several occasions, but I'm not playing by Andrew's fucking rules. I have like conditions on it. And then nothing ever came of that. And then Andrew Wilson had a massive meltdown because he was drinking one morning and he just wanted to act like an asshole on Twitter. So Andrew Wilson got really mad at me, which means he loses the debate based on his own rules. And then for some reason, Jake Rattlesnake got mad at me too. And I truly don't remember what I did. I truly have no fucking idea. I sent me a $20 chat to him to talk about how you got that professor fired, and he just said that you blocked him on X. Well, he must have been an asshole or something. Like, he was probably being an asshole. I truly don't remember though. But you know what? Listen, like the reality is Jake Rattlesnake is not smart enough to follow my content. And I don't even think Andrew Wilson's smart enough to follow my content. Andrew Wilson has been behaving like such a massive little bitch lately, based on, like, I do try my best to ignore him, unless like something, but stuff has just been popping up in my like on my timeline. Like, I guess Andrew Wilson did a space where he was crying about how people were mean to him or something. I don't know. I have no idea. So apparently Jake Rattlesnake is holding on to feelings like a woman. And of course, it's always the masculine men, isn't it? It's always the masculine men who do nothing but like shit talk how I look and all that. That are completely incapable. Like, Jake Rattlesnake is completely incapable of having an intellectual conversation with me. Andrew Wilson is completely incapable of having an intellectual conversation with me. But they just shit talk and they whine and they cry all over the internet. And I'm just like a couple weeks later, I'm like, I literally don't even remember what this was about. And they're still whining about it. Why are they still whining about it? Like, I truly don't even. I have no idea. I was sitting here as soon as I was like, what the fuck did I do? I don't know. Anyway, so Karlyn is pissing off big masculine men on the internet. Must be a day that ends in Y. Hey, do you guys want another piece of gossip before we get into the actual orders of business? Do you guys want another piece of gossip? Well, I'm going to share it anyway because Thanksgiving week, okay? This is gossip, and then we're going to get to the serious stuff. So you guys all remember, right? How could you possibly forget? How could anyone who watches my content? Oh, that's not what I want. That's not what I want at all. Hang on. Where's my setting? Not that one. I don't even know how my own streaming setup works. That's not right though. My whole streaming. Oh, you know why? Because I changed it. Because I changed it for Socialism Saturday. All right. Well, I guess we'll start out with this. I'll fix my streaming setup later. Anyway, you guys all remember several years ago when I was gang stalked relentlessly by an unhinged horde of retards. And that unhinged horde of retards was led by Carrie Smith. Carrie Smith is a psychotic person who became obsessed with me and I think became extremely jealous because my platform grew when hers didn't in 2020. Carrie wanted to make a brand for herself as being the Democrat who left the left. And I slid right in there and I became the conservative darling and she didn't. And she was always really upset about that because Carrie was an honor student that went to Duke or something. And she became a social justice warrior and she wanted to get famous for leaving the left. And then I got more famous than she did. And then Carrie lost her fucking mind and wrote an essay about how I was her abusive mother and started stalking me all the time on the internet. And then she started saying I was stalking her when in fact all the receipts and evidence said otherwise, which I documented on this because the stalking and the harassment continued for literally 2 fucking years every day of my life, led by this bitch who is a psychotic person. Now, back then, people kind of took Carrie's side back then. It's so funny. Oh, how the world turns or the cookie crumbles or whatever the fuck. It's so funny how this worked out because everyone took Carrie's side back in the day when her and her friends were like gang stalking me relentlessly, doxing my college boyfriend, spreading all sorts of bullshit about me all over the internet. Every single smear campaign that anyone has heard about comes from this bitch with these stupid fucking hats. Anyway, fast forward a couple years. And Carrie now has some new targets. You may recognize Carrie if you're new to the whole Carrie Smith thing. You may recognize Carrie because Carrie recently did a show about how Candace Owens is leading a cult. And Candace Owens got wind of it, and Candace Owens dragged Carrie on her show, and it was so hilarious. Candace Owens specifically called out Carrie for her bullshit, and I was like, oh, for once I'm on Candace's side, and I couldn't even stand it. It was amazing. It was incredible. But that's not the only person that Carrie has become obsessed with lately. Carrie has also become obsessed with this guy, Joel Webbin. Now, listen, Joel Webbin and I don't have a lot in common. Joel Webbin thinks that women should be relegated to the kitchen and should never speak. Obviously, I only cook one day a year, and that day is Thanksgiving. And I speak on the internet all the time. So on these two notes, Joel Webbin and I completely disagree. Joel Webbin is a Christian. I am not a Christian. We disagree on that. Now, I don't care that Joel Webbin's a Christian. I don't care that Joel Webbin has a trad wife or like whatever. I wish them the best. I want everyone to be happy. He's allowed to be a Christian if he wants to be. But like the one thing that Joel Webbin and I do agree on is Carrie Smith is a psychotic person. Now, what's funny about this, we did an episode a couple months back. Did you know that Carrie Smith joined up with this Mikael Olsen guy who works for the Babylon Bee? The two of them went to Joel Webbin's church to stalk him in person. But Joel Webbin saw them and then called them out on Twitter. Do you guys remember when Carrie went with a member of the Babylon Bee literally to stalk this guy's church because they're pissed off that he doesn't support Israel? One in the chat if you guys remember that. That was like a particularly funny moment. I knew the Babylon Bee guy went to stalk his church. I did not realize Carrie went with the Babylon Bee guy until much later. So yeah. So Carrie and the Babylon Bee have become obsessed with ruining this guy's reputation, and they're pulling out all the old tricks. They're pulling out all the stops of the lying, the defaming. Carrie's running around saying that Joel Webbin is running a cult, and it's her job to pull people out of the cult. By the way, do you know Carrie did exactly the same thing to me? Carrie would go around for years telling people Karlyn is running a cult, and sometimes her cult members leave, and they come to me, Carrie Smith, to be deprogrammed from the cult that I swear to God. And I'm like, I am like the worst cult leader in the history of humanity because like I don't even really care if anyone's here. Like I tell you guys to get the fuck out all the time. So I'm like really the worst cult leader in the history of humanity because I don't even do anything to like keep you guys in the cult. But anyway, Carrie was convinced I was running a cult. Carrie then became convinced that Candace Owens was running a cult. Carrie is also convinced that Joel Webbin is running a cult. And the reason that Carrie went to stalk his church was to get people to leave Joel Webbin's cult and allow her, Carrie Smith, with no psychological experience at all, to deprogram them from the cult that they have been sucked into. Well. Carrie has become so obsessed with Joel Webbin that she is now making cringe videos pretending to be him. I'm just gonna let this sink in. Carrie is now making entire videos about her obsession with Joel Webbin. And I thought just for funsies, while we're waiting for other people to join us, let's watch the video that Carrie made dressed up as Joel Webbin and pretending to be him. Okay, here it is. You guys are going to love it.
What would you say is the biggest threat to Christian nationalism?
Christians.
How so?
Christians are gay. Fake and gay, to be more precise. Christianity is a feminized religion. This is really what I said. I really said this. Christianity is a feminized religion. Fake and gay, to be more precise. I think it's in Galatians where it says Christians are gay. Fake and gay, to be more precise. I think it was Paul who said Christianity is a feminized religion. I think my favorite part of the Bible was in 2 Corinthians where it says, ye Christians, ye are gay. Why am I a Christian? Good evening. My name is Pastor Wolf Ibn. Some of you may recognize me from that one Nazis podcast or the other Nazis podcast. Some of you may recognize me from that time I paid Allie Beth Stuckey money for advertising space on her show and tricked her and said, haha, the advertisement is you interviewing me for 15 minutes. That was before I then said she should not have a podcast, but a feminized religion, am I right? Am I right, boys? Come on down to my church. Who's with me? I think my favorite part of the Bible is in 2 Corinthians.
Yeah, that's real, guys. That's real. That's real. Hang on. Stop.
What would you say
we
is the
don't
biggest...
need to watch that again. That once was enough. One time was enough for us to watch that. And now I'm gonna fix my thing so it actually is like the way I want it to be. Hang on one sec. Yeah, so Carrie has basically become a psychotic person, is what we are now learning from this behavior. And I gotta say, Carrie, do you guys wonder why I got more famous on the internet than Carrie? Like, is anyone confused about why I ended up listen, Carrie, I'm not a comedian. Did you guys know that Carrie used to rep comedians? Carrie used to be like Margaret Cho's manager or something like that. So Carrie like repped one of the most leftist comedians in like the history of like leftist comedians. And like I've never fancied myself to be a comedian. Like I don't know. Duncan Trussell told me I could be a comedian. When I hung out with Duncan in Portland after his show, he said you could be a comedian, and I was kind of like, I don't know about that. I never fancied myself being a comedian or anything, but I think I'm at least funny. Right? Like I have moments of being funny. I don't think I'm funny all the time. I certainly sometimes I come across as funny when I'm not intending to be funny. But like, I think there are some times when like I actually do make people laugh, and I try to like bring levity to these like absurd dystopian situations. What like, but Carrie is not funny. Like that video wasn't funny. And Carrie wants to wonder why I got more famous on the internet than she is. It's because I'm actually funny and she's not. Carrie wonders why I got more famous on the internet than she is. She's obsessed with like mischaracterizing people and attacking people over stupid bullshit claims that they're narcissists that have formed some sort of fucking cult, and it's her job to pull people out of the cult. And I actually just focus on like, hey guys, do you want to like watch these crazy leftist videos and I don't know, maybe talk about them? Carrie wonders why I got more famous on the internet than she did, because I actually make good and useful content, and Carrie's dicking around with this unfunny cringe bullshit. So I just have to say, after years of being harassed by this woman, now that she has seemed to finally and at long last moved on to attacking other people in exactly the same way that she attacked me for years and years and years. Yeah. And here's the other thing too. Carrie can't knit. And the ironic thing of that is Carrie was the reason that I actually got into politics, because she was covering the knitting wars, which is what I was involved in at the time. Carrie always told people that she was going to learn to knit, and she never did. Carrie pretended to be a fake knitter for years in order to get famous. She never even learned how to knit. It is offensive. Okay, it is offensive. It took me years to learn how to be a good knitter. I had to knit many, many shawls that sucked before I knitted a shawl that was actually good. I had to practice. You guys see me knitting without looking at my hand. Do you know how long it took me to learn how to knit without looking at my fingers all the time? That took me years to develop that technique. Carrie can't even fucking knit. She is a fake gay non-knitter. I can knit without even looking. Carrie can't knit at all. Knitta, please. Knitta, please. Anyway, so Carrie has now graduated to harassing other people, and her content still sucks. And it's not funny, Carrie. It's not funny. It's not funny. And whatever, Joel Webben W, Carrie Smith L. And I just thought you guys would like to see that before we moved on to actual content. That's it. That's it. So we're going to be watching today. Hey guys, do you want to see what we're going to watch? Check this out. I'm going to give you a little preview of what we're going to watch. We're going to talk about something else though before we get there, but check this out. Seton Hall University Queer Student Society. This video has 35 views. This video was posted a couple of days ago. You guys know that I love nothing more than watching a video that's only been posted in the last couple days, that only has 30. We will put more views on this video like in 10 minutes than this video has in total. I love finding stuff like this on the internet. This is where all the juiciest of golden nuggets come from. And people are like, Karlyn, these are small little YouTube channels. No one's watching this. Why do you think this has any impact? Because this is at Seton Hall University. Just because it doesn't get views on YouTube doesn't mean it doesn't have impact. This is at Seton Hall University, which is in New Jersey. For people who don't know where that is, it's a private university in New Jersey. And the very first sentence of the description is, queer theory is alive and well at Seton Hall. And I saw this and I was like, oh, this is everything. This is everything I want. This is everything I want rolled up into one little video. It's queer theory. It's at a university. And check this out. This is about the politics of gay marriage, being queer post-gay marriage, the next generation's reality, prompting students to reflect on the next generation's path towards queer liberation. You're telling me that gay marriage didn't lead to queer liberation? Trendolin in with the 50. Trendolin in with the 50. Can we please watch The Penguin and Hitler Has Only One Ball? You know, Trendolin, after you sent me that Hitler video, I actually was amused by that Hitler video. I thought that was funny. And so I sent it to Big Tech because I thought he might be amused by it because I thought that he still had a sense of humor. And then he got all pissy about it and he didn't want to play it. And he was like, this isn't funny, Karlyn. And we're allowed to find different things. And Big Tech had a big old fucking hissy fit about it. And he was really mean to me when I sent him that video. And I was pretty upset. I was like, literally, bro, what the fuck? I literally just sent you like a 20-second video and you're being like a bitch about it. And so I was really pissed at him. But Trendlin, you'll appreciate how I got revenge on him for being mean to me. The next time I saw him live on the internet, I fucking super chatted in and I attached the penguin video, which meant that if I paid him $5, he had to sit there and watch the whole penguin video. So to get back at him for being mean to me on the internet for no good reason, I forced him to sit through the penguin video. And then I said, you were really mean to me on the internet last week and it was uncalled for. So now this is my revenge against you. And I forced him to fucking watch it. I don't know if he was okay with that or not. I honestly don't really care because he was a dick and he deserved it. Can we watch the videos? Okay, Trendlin, remind me at the end, all right? I can't say no to you. You just sent me $50. But just remind me at the end, okay? Just remind me at the end and we'll do it on the way out, okay? See? I knew you would like that. I knew. Listen, it's not my fault he has a feature with his power chat where if you pay him $5, he has to watch whatever video you send him. That's not my fault. I paid good money. I paid good money for him to watch that Hitler video too, and he didn't want to watch it. And he made fun of me. It was a big meanie on the internet. And so then I made him watch a different video, and I'm sure he got that song stuck in his head for the rest of the day. And he damn well fucking deserved it because he was a dick. It's not my fault. I didn't do nothing. Didn't do nothing. Wasn't my fault. Anyway, so we're gonna watch this. This queer theory video, and we're gonna talk about it. Before we do that, though, I want to show you guys something cool. Look at this. This. Let me. We have to rotate it because this is a zine, and so zines are meant to be folded. But you can see the title page down here: How to Report ICE and Keep Our Neighbors Safe. I found this zine because Emmy O'Brien, who is one of our favorite queer Marxist activists, Emmy O'Brien reposted this on Blue Sky. Now, of course, I was not looking at Emmy O'Brien's account on Blue Sky under my account because she had me blocked. Or they, them had me blocked. Whatever they, them's pronouns are, whatever. They had me blocked. But I have a super secret account on Blue Sky where I monitor all of the communists. And Emmy O'Brien retweeted this. And I was like, oh, what is this? Well, this is a zine that came out in New York City recently. This is an update to the anti-ICE organizing zine that's been going around New York City. And there's a couple things that I think are interesting about this zine. I'm going to flip it back over. We're not going to read the whole thing, but I want to show you this. Salute. Look at this section. I'll make it big. Salute. This is what they're teaching people to do when they're reporting ICE out to community groups and organizations. So as you guys know, anti-ICE activists basically are coordinating in communities all over the country in every major city where they're having people in the community get into signal groups because signal is their preferred mode of communication. And they are teaching people when ICE shows up in your neighborhood, here is how you identify them. And here is how you warn your neighbors about ICE being in the neighborhood to, they say kidnap people, but of course it's deporting illegal aliens, but they call it kidnapping or abductions or any of these other things. And how they teach people to report is with this strategy called salute. These are the things that you should have in your reports every time you are chatting into the signal group in order to warn people about ICE being in the neighborhood. So, S, size of the group of officers. A, the actions or activities. What are they doing? L, the location, address or cross streets or borough. U, uniforms or clothes, looking for anything identifying. T, time and date. E, equipment and weapons. So you're supposed to include all of these elements when you're reporting seeing ICE in your neighborhood so that you can help protect your neighbors from being kidnapped. Well, I want to show you guys something. This is a handout that I was given when I was undercover at the New York Anarchist Book Fair. Now, the New York Anarchist Book Fair, for people who don't know, is an anarchist event that happens in New York City that I went undercover at a couple months ago. And when you think New York Anarchist Book Fair, you may think that this is just a bunch of people like, you know, reading books or whatever, but that's not what it is. So the New York Anarchist Book Fair, the centerpiece of it is a bunch of people who are selling stuff and handing out zines and propaganda and all that stuff. But the other thing that happens around anarchist book fairs is they have panels, they have workshops, they have organizing meetings. So basically, they're creating an entire kind of like anarchist ecosystem where they're meeting each other, they're networking, they're teaching each other, they're presenting information. This is the anti-ICE organizing meeting that I went to in the park in New York City, just a random clandestine meeting in a park where everyone had to wear a mask and everyone was protecting their identity, and they were teaching us to literally slice ISIS tires. That's one of the things they said. They were like, we're not going to tell you to slash ISIS tires, but maybe you should. I don't know. If you want to stop people from getting kidnapped, maybe you should do that. Now, this woman with the purple hair right here, she is a teacher. I know that because she told us that she is a teacher. And of course, I wasn't supposed to take any of these pictures because there was a strict no camera rule, but I kind of broke it a little bit. And so at this meeting, I was given this handout with how to find ICE, how to identify them, all this stuff. Hang on, wait for it. More stuff, how to identify ICE's vehicles. Boom. And I posted all this information publicly, but just as a reminder, and do you know what is in this? Do you know what's in this worksheet? Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. I was given exactly the same thing in person that they are handing out today in this zine. Boom. Exactly the same thing. So I thought that was rather interesting. But another thing that's interesting is on the other side of this zine. Check this out. Look, oh, hang on. My screen just got really big. Nope. My computer likes resizing my browser windows for some reason, and it's really, really annoying. Anyway, look at this other side of the zine. I want to draw your attention to to this left-hand corner over here, okay? I want to help keep my immigrant neighbors safe. What can I do? Report ICE sightings and activities to trusted organizations. Do this in NYC by calling this hotline number. New York City has an anti-ICE hotline. Does anyone else know about this? Does the Trump administration know that New York City has an anti-ICE organizing reporting hotline? This helps alert vulnerable immigrants so they can avoid interactions with ICE. Use the salute protocol. We just talked about that. Be accurate and cautious. Reports, and this is the part that is really crazy. Hang on, you guys are going to love this. Report ICE encounters to New York State Attorney Letitia James. And there's the hotline number right there that you can call to report anti-ICE, or you can call, to report ICE doing their job in New York City. Oh, wait, there's more. Do you guys see this QR code down here? And it says, report federal activity to the New York State Attorney General's office. Do you know where this QR code goes? Does anyone want to guess where this QR code goes? Oh, I'll show you. Hang on. Boom! Letitia James is doing anti-ICE organizing completely in the open. And no one seems to have a problem with this. No one is talking about this. Does anyone even know about this? Does ICE know about this? Do any of the influencers that have been talking about all of this stuff know about this? Does anyone who's been covering Letitia James at all, does anyone know that Letitia James has a literal anti-ICE organizing hotline? and a federal action reporting form going through her office? Why are we the only ones talking about this? Oh, wait, because we read the fucking zine. Because we read their zines. People give me so much shit. They're like, Karlyn, why do you talk about these zines so much? Why do you talk about these zines so much? The zines tell you what they are doing. The zines tell you how they are organizing. The zines are what they hand out when they're doing the fucking organizing. The reason that you go to the anarchist book fairs is to find out what zines they are handing out. So you can get the latest information about what they're doing. And what we learned in this case, simply by watching them and by paying attention and reading the propaganda that they're handing out, is that Letitia James literally is running an anti-ICE organizing fucking hotline through her office, along with a federal action reporting form. Does anyone else have a problem with this? Hello, Republicans. Do you want to do something about this, please? Trump, do you want to do something about this, please? Pam Bondi, do you want to do something about this, please? Tom Homan, do you want to do something about this, please? Kristi Noem, do you want to do something about this, please? Will any Republican politician do something about this? Will any conservative influencer actually report on this? Will anyone, except for us, actually complain about this type of shit going on right in front of us right now? I don't think I'm asking too much. I don't think I'm asking too much. Will any of the people in the federal government start to do their job and start actually deporting people? Can we please have our mass deportations? No, the reason we can't is because Letitia James, the New York State Attorney General, the one who just got out of an indictment for some weird technicality, it has an anti-ICE organizing line going to her office. I know I'm yelling, but I'm just like, I don't know how this stuff happens. They made a whole website out of this. And no one else is talking about it. No one else is doing nothing about it. And Trump is high-fiving Zora Mandami, being like, we're going to make New York great again. Yeah, good luck, Trump. Good luck. Good luck. So guys, if you want the latest, the absolute cutting edge latest about what the far left is doing, head over to my Substack. It is the Decode the Left Substack, Karlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. Sign up for a membership, $8 a month, $80 a year. You can, of course, sign up for free, and the vast majority of my content is free, but I do this work completely independently. I'm independently funded by people just like you who are tired of being lied to by literally everyone. I show you the receipts. I show you the primary source evidence. I let you look at everything. I don't put anything behind a paywall, at least not the primary source evidence, and I let you look at it, and you get to decide for yourself what you think. If you want to keep me in business, help me out by signing up for a membership, $8 a month, $80 a year. That'd be pretty great. Also, another way you can help me out is by heading over to my merchandise store. That is the Red Menace Supply Company. That is redmenacesupply.com. Here you go. Link in chat. And for the next couple of days, the next week, we have our McCarthy series, and every design in this series is 25% off through the end of the month, because we are leading in a new era of McCarthyism in this country. We last week got a college professor's tenure revoked and him fired from his job for being a communist. We are the first people to do this since the McCarthy era. To celebrate our massive victory, I made all of these McCarthy designs 25% off for the rest of the month. So if you want to pick up an Are You an Anti-Communist t-shirt, this is the shirt I was wearing on Fox News the last time I was on it. Even Jack Posobiec said he wanted one because it's a cool-ass shirt. We have some other McCarthy is Right shirts as well. If you click in on the designs, you can see all the different things you can get on that. There are sticker packs, hoodies, sweatshirts, tank tops, all that good stuff in the Unwoke Art Store. Not the Unwoke Art Store. It used to be called the Unwoke Art Store. It's not the Unwoke Art Store anymore. It's the Red Menace Supply Company, because I changed the name because I can't deal with the word woke anymore. I can't. So I changed the name. Anyway, 25% off through the end of the month, and we will be having our Christmas merch going live very, very soon, and you're going to see a lot of cool merch in the store. We're going to bring back some old favorites. We're going to do some Christmas merch. It's going to be awesome. And of course, all purchases do go to support the work I'm doing, and I really, really, really appreciate it. All right. Class dues. Yeah, everyone put in your class dues. $2 at the door, $3 at the door, $5 at the door, whatever you want. Pay your cover charge, please. We are about to begin our class. If you feel like it. All right. Today, we are watching Being Queer, Post-Gay Marriage, The Next Generation's Reality. This is on the YouTube page for Seton Hall University Queer Student Society. Now, if we go over to their Instagram, yup, it's extremely new. They just started it. They just started it for this. If we go over to their Instagram page, here is the ad for this event. Queer theory is alive and well at Seton Hall. Join the Queer Student Society and Dr. Mott as he opens the door to his class, The Politics of Gay Marriage, for a discussion of queer theory and political marriage. And this was filmed on Monday, November 17th. Hey, thanks, CB, for the super sticker. I really do appreciate that. And it just got put on the internet a couple days ago, and we have it, and no one else does, and it's awesome. Actually, let's look at some other things on this on this page. Here we go. Those are the queers at Seton Hall University. They're doing their best Queers for Palestine. Queer Student Society. Oh, they've got the safety pins. Oh, we haven't seen a good safety pin in a minute. Look at this. I want you for the Seton Hall University Queer Student Society. There we go. Desecrating, that, but that's all right. Bisexual Awareness Month. Okay. Anyway, is that autism? No, Aromantic Spectrum Awareness Week. What the fuck? What the fuck? Aromantic Spectrum Aware. Okay, whatever. Okay. Whatever. Guys, we are watching this because one of the topics that I'm really interested in is the development of queer Marxism as a political ideology. As you guys know, I'm actually working on a book about it. And this is actually one of the things that I find most interesting. Just for a little bit of background for people who may be new here, queer Marxists, the far left, did not want gay marriage to be legalized. They view that as a liberal struggle, more of a Democrat struggle. As a reminder, the queer activists are not Democrats. They're not liberals. They are a completely different ideology. And they were completely opposed to gay marriage being legalized because they think that marriage is a form of property relationship that assimilates the gays to the normativity of capitalism. All right. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Doug, for the mutual aid. I really do appreciate it. So I'm really interested to see what this professor has to say, not only about the politics of gay marriage, because it wasn't as clear and dry as many people think. The liberals and the Democrats wanted gay marriage to be legalized. The queer activists, the ones who are trying to abolish gender and abolish the nuclear family, they did not want gay marriage to be legalized. There was a little war that took place between these two factions in the 90s and the 2000s. Obviously, the normie Democrat gays won because gay marriage was legalized. And then the normie gays all went home because they had achieved their queer liberation. For the normie liberals and Democrats, queer liberation was achieved as soon as gay marriage was legalized. Well, that wasn't the case for the queer Marxists. The queer Marxists think that queer liberation can only be achieved when capitalism is annihilated. And you can even see here, The Politics of Gay Marriage, Dr. Mott presented Being Queer, Post-Gay Marriage, The Next Generation's Reality, prompting students to reflect on the next generation's path towards queer liberation. For them, queer liberation was not about getting married. They didn't want to get married. It's all about the abolition of capitalism, the abolition of societal norms, and apparently this is a class that is actually being taught at Seton Hall University currently. Thank you for the super sticker, Doctor. I really do appreciate that. So we're going to dig in and we're going to watch this presentation and we're going to talk about it. As a reminder, guys, if you do have questions in the chat, please feel free to ask questions. I want to encourage everyone to not debunk the presentation. The point of watching this is not to debunk it because debunking it doesn't matter. First of all, they can't hear you. If you are chatting in something meant to be directed towards someone in the video, they can't hear you. Okay? So nothing you say to them is going to make any difference. And what it does is it prevents you from actually listening to what they're saying. The goal of this exercise is to listen to what they are saying and actually understand their perspective. It's not to agree with it. We don't agree with their perspective, but you have to be able to understand your enemy's perspective if you're going to like outmaneuver them. All right. So that is what we're doing. Please refrain from debunking, but all good questions are welcome. It's literally right on the screen, bro. Master Shake, it's right on the screen. Dr. W. King Mott. Master Shake needs a cup of coffee, apparently. That's all right. All right, mount the like button for me if you would be so kind, and let's get this party started. Yeah, no. Don't start any. See, you're trouble. He's like, I bet if I type in all caps, then they'll be able to hear me in the video. All right, let's get this party started.
In the state of Texas. But and then I also want to bring it back here, to this university, which has so many strengths, because here we are talking, and at the same time, it has great challenges in front of it related to free discourse and free expression and safety, quite frankly. Safety of consciousness, safety of our bodies. And safety isn't an abstract concept in queer theory. It's real. It's very unlikely that I would have had academic appointments if I had, been out aggressively. I don't think I'm that hard to spot, but I don't think it was wise to put that on my, that's not what I did my presentations on for faculty. And I don't think that you all, if you're going to go work at a law firm that's more than, a smaller, if you're into working for nonprofits, I don't think these things are going to be issues, but if you're going in any kind of corporate direction, it's still an issue. It's an issue for women, prima facie, we know that. And it's an issue for race, prima facie, we know that. And it is an issue for queer bodies as well. And then if you cross intersectionally any of those territories, it's wow. It's a dangerous thing to go and try and get a job on the basis of presenting one's own talents. Because there's the defense of the reality. And so I wanted to talk today, firstly, about where we are, and I want to talk about where we are, and some of you will recognize parts of this who've had me in other courses, but here's something that's happening as today. The Trump administration has pushed for the restriction on transgender Americans in nearly every arena, including serving the military. No measure has struck as broad and a direct blow to identity and participation of Black as a new policy on passports. And the Supreme Court has allowed this to take effect. So passports must now reflect conditions of a person's gender, sex circumstances, which is really bizarre because, as you all know, scientifically, even that is suspect to future interpretation.
Sorry, I was blowing my nose. I didn't think you guys need to see that. Hang on. 2 ladies Sorry I missed your gift, two ladies. Two ladies gifted 5 channel memberships. Congratulations to everyone who got a channel membership. Appreciate it as always, two ladies. Thank you for that support.
There's a lot of pressure in our lives today, and I don't think it's ever not been there. You know, we're like the frogs in the warm water. We're so used to getting fucked that if it was just, you know, mild abuse, we tend to kind of like take it. And you know, if we get a little bit of acceptance, we tend to think it's a win. I would like to take the contrary perspective on that. And I would like to suggest a beginning of our conversation, which I hope to be a conversation, and I'm going to pause and ask for clarification or interpretation throughout these 35, 40 minutes, and then kind of a check-in after we do that. There's a radical feminist that I follow in almost in an adoring way, and her name is Monique Wittig. And she's French, and she's writing early part of the 20th century, late part of the 19th century. And she has this piece that she calls the invocation. When I first read this, I just wept because it was an opportunity for me to actually, I felt seen by someone across time. And she said, and says to you and me today, there was a time when you were not a slave. Remember that. You say you have lost all recollection of it. Remember. You say there are no words to describe it. You say it does not exist. But remember. Make an effort to remember, or failing that, invent. Make an effort to remember, or failing that, invent. And that's how we've lived our lives as queer bodies. Because we haven't been given.
That's how we've lived our lives as queer bodies. We haven't heard a good talk like this in a while. And I quite frankly kind of miss it. Do you guys remember when the left used to refer to people in black bodies or brown bodies, or like queer bodies now, I guess is a thing?
And that's how we've lived our lives as queer bodies. Because we haven't been given the history, the anthropology, the psychology, the sexuality. We haven't been given the instructions. And neither has any outside or disempowered group. You know, the place where.
Okay, this might be a good time just to do a little intro course for people who might be new, because we always have to remember, because I always want to try to bring new people along. I know many of you understand this already, but for new people who are just tuning into this stuff, there's something that people need to understand about this. When we're talking about queer theory or queer Marxism, as I refer to it, we're talking about the idea of gay people being an oppressed identity category. This was actually started. Actually, I have a documentary about this. So this idea was started in 1950 by the Mattachine Society. I actually found a brand new documentary we're going to watch sometime this week about the Mattachine Society. I'm really excited about it. But the Mattachine Society in the 1950s, this is an interesting thing that a lot of people might not understand. The Communist Party in the 50s, because of McCarthyism, did not allow gay people to be a member of the Communist Party because they thought that it was too easy to blackmail gay people. And therefore, if you were an out gay person, you were not allowed to be a member of the Communist Party. They would literally expel you. So there were 5 people, primarily organized by a guy named Harry Hay. In 1950, he started the Mattachine Society. The Mattachine Society still exists today. but it's in a very different form than it is when it started. And when it started, it was 5 gay communists who had gotten kicked out of the Communist Party for being gay, and they wanted to start this kind of, it was like a gay communist party, essentially. And what they ended up doing is they ended up like kind of throwing themselves into like gay rights struggles, and they got a lot of press in Los Angeles around this one gay rights struggle. And I'm not going to go into detail about that now, but the Mattachine Society grew exponentially. It grew extremely quickly with all of these gay people, but they weren't actually communists. Okay. So a lot of gay men started joining the Mattachine Society because they were fighting these like gay rights things, but they weren't joining because the Mattachine Society was communist. They were joining because all of a sudden there was like a social club for gay men in Los Angeles. And, you know, gay men flock to other gay men like rabbits because they want to fuck all the time. And so if you can go and hang out with another group of gay men, you're going to have a lot of sex. And so that was how the Mattachine Society grew. But it wasn't necessarily because they were communists, except that the founders of the society were. Okay. So the founders of the society, a couple of years after it formed, they actually completely exited because most of their members were like, we don't want to be communists. So the communists got kicked out. But the point I want to make is the Mattachine Society started with the idea of gay people are an oppressed class. And that is the nugget that turned into queer Marxism as we know it today. It started in 1950 with the Mattachine Society when the communists were kicking the gay people out. The gay people went and formed their own thing, and they came up with this idea that gay people are an oppressed class, just like workers are an oppressed class. They put it in the framework that they understood. It was that little nugget that has morphed into queer ideology. It's that little nugget that's morphed into queer activism. It's that little nugget that morphed into the bashback movement. It's that little golden nugget that started this entire gender movement. Okay? So I want people to understand this. Queer Marxism starts with the idea that gay people are an oppressed class in the same way that workers are an oppressed class. And it's not even, and it's kind of morphed since then because it's a very kind of like mutated form of Marxism. It's not a traditional form of like Marxism in that it's based on like all the pure philosophy. It's like a mutated form that they took on to utilize for their efforts. But what I want people to understand is it was never really about equal rights for gay people, because Marxists don't want to assimilate to capitalist culture, right? Marxists don't want to be capitalists. Marxists want to be communists. Marxists want to overthrow capitalism. And so this whole idea about the gay rights movement being about equal rights, it was never about that for the queer Marxists. The queer Marxists were trying to undo capitalism. They were trying to undo the capitalist norms that upheld society to include the gender binary and to include the nuclear family. Does everyone understand? Does anyone have questions? It's okay to ask questions. Yes, they are against all property rights. Marriage is a form of property. Parental rights are a form of property. Cool.
The history and the psychology and the anthropology and the sexuality is given is in heteronormativity.
Heteronormativity.
It's given in white centrism.
Oh, that means capitalism.
It's given in male centrism.
Capitalism.
It's given in Christocentrism.
Oh,
and those ideas are concretized. They're not simply.
He's got everything. He's got, oh shit. Oh shit. I think this is going to be a good one. Hey, doctor, I feel like you've been around when I've answered this question before, and you tend to not listen to me, and then you tend to be snarky about it in the chat. So you're going to listen this time, and if I ever see you asking this question again, I'm going to be really upset about it. And the reason is, I think you've been around when I've explained this before, and you just haven't been listening to what I'm saying, which is why you're asking it now. Are there any queer trans? Not as in transition. Pop quiz for the chat. Let's actually, let me have the chat answer your question. Guys, what does trans mean when it comes to queer activists? What does the term trans mean when it comes to queer activists? When queer activists say the term trans, they mean transcending gender, as in abolishing the gender binary. They do not mean transition. Transition is about transitioning from man to woman or woman to man. They mean transcend or transform. They are transcending gender. They are going beyond the gender binary. They want to abolish the categories of men and women. It does not mean to transition to become a man or a woman. It means to transcend all normative gender. So yes, are there trans queer people? Yes, but it doesn't mean the same thing as people who are transitioning from man to woman or woman to man. It is a completely different ideology. Trans and queer are not the same thing. Whitting wrote, that's the person he quoted earlier, if we as lesbians and gay men continue to speak of ourselves and to conceive of ourselves as women and men, we are instrumental in maintaining heterosexuality. Holy shit. Whitting is the person he quoted earlier saying, her words made me weep because I felt like I was being seen through time. If we as lesbians and gay men continue to speak of ourselves, to conceive of ourselves as women and men, we are instrumental in maintaining heterosexuality. Heterosexuality in this case doesn't actually mean like a man or a woman. It means the form of relationship designed to uphold capitalism. Everyone understand? This is what makes queer Marxism so fun. You can be completely straight and still be queer. That is absolutely right. You do not have to be gay to be queer. You do not have to be trans to be queer. You can be a straight white man and be queer because queer is a political ideology. Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you for listening. Whitting was also quoted in the Queer Manifesto. I think you're right about that. Cool. That was written in 1980. Beautiful.
And the anthropology and the sexuality is given is in heteronormativity. It's given in white centrism. It's given in male centrism. It's given in Christocentrism. And those ideas are concretized. They're not simply provided, they're actually concretized in our culture. So much so that we internalize our own oppressors. And I'm speaking to a group who knows this. We internalize our own oppressors and we manage our own experience from the perspective of that narrative. Good gays.
Hang on. No, that's not correct. So he's just spouting more of the same us versus them rhetoric. Who do you Batty dude? Who do you define as us versus them? Because that's not what was being said at all. And and you're asking questions, so I want to make sure you actually understand this. I need you to respond to what I am saying to you. What do you mean when you say us versus them? Who is us and who is them? We're waiting for Batty Dude to respond. Who is us versus who is them? Batty Dude, who is us versus who is them? I know there's a little bit of a delay when I say something and when you get to respond, but I want an answer to this. You asked a question. I'm going to answer it, but I need you to respond. Who is us versus who is them? You have 30 seconds to respond, or I'm not answering your question and I'm moving on and I'm putting you in a timeout for pissing me off. You have 20 seconds to respond. Who is us versus who is them? No, that's not what's being said at all. That's not what's being said at all. The far left, from my own personal experience, have created a narrative where they have vilified the far right or the right. Nope, that's okay. Okay, you responded, that's fine. No, that is not what they are saying at all. This has nothing to do with right versus left. As a reminder, conservatives, the far left doesn't really care what you guys have to say at all. They barely even pay attention to you. You think they pay attention to you because you watch clickbait bullshit on Twitter and you don't hinge into reality with what's really going on. This is not about left versus right. This is about oppressor versus oppressed. Marxism is about the oppressors, the capitalist class. And by the way, they think Democrats are oppressors. They think liberals are oppressors. They think Obama's an oppressor. They think Joe Biden's an oppressor. This is about the capitalist class, the bourgeois versus the proletarian, the worker. The bourgeois versus the proletarian, oppressor versus oppressed. When it comes to queer Marxists want to abolish capitalism as a form of queer liberation, and that means their enemy is the capitalist class or the bourgeois class that are trying to uphold societal cultural norms. If you are a person that believes men and women are a real thing, and by the way, Democrats believe that too, and liberals believe that too, you are an oppressor because you are upholding capitalist gender norms based on the socially constructed categories created by capitalism. If you believe in the nuclear family, you are upholding capitalist norms that will reproduce capitalism. Democrats believe in the nuclear family. Liberals believe in the nuclear family. Progressives believe in the nuclear family. No one's trying to destroy the nuclear family except the extreme far left, okay? So you got to stop thinking about this as the evil leftists just hate all of us conservatives, because that's actually a victim mindset and it's not actually hinged into reality. This is about the oppressor versus oppressed, the capitalist versus the proletariat. That's what it is. Queer Marxism specifically is interested in the cultural aspects of capitalism, so it's not an economic theory. It's about gender. It's about the nuclear family. Thank you for asking the question. I hope you understand the answer. If you don't understand the answer, I need you to ask another question.
Good women. Good people. Act this way.
Yes, exactly.
Shape
It's
their
not the same.
bodies this way. Wear their hair this way. Walk this way. And yet, here we are in our inventions. And here we are teaching a course at a university whose history is violently opposed.
Hang on. We're gonna rewatch this part because I want to hear that from the beginning. Am I gonna report this to Seton Hall? No. No. Why am I doing Seton Hall's work for them? Why am I doing their what I'm gonna do is if there's something interesting in this, I'm gonna put it out on Twitter. And I'm going to put it in my Substack, and I'm going to put it on YouTube, and I'm going to do commentary around it. I'm not filing a fucking report. Just like I'm not reporting anything to the White House. I'm not reporting anything to the Trump administration. I'm not paid by the White House or the DOJ or the FBI. They can do their own fucking work. I'm not paid by Seton Hall University. They can do their own fucking work. I'm a journalist covering what's going on. I'm a researcher that's looking into this ideology. It is not my job to fix these systems. It's other people's jobs to fucking fix these systems. So if someone in New Jersey wants to report this presentation to Seton Hall University, they're more than welcome to, but I'm not going to waste my time reporting to places that aren't fucking interested in solving the problem. This course started over 15 years ago. The course that we're watching now started over 15 fucking years ago. Do you think that Seton Hall University is going to get rid of this course now? It's been teaching it for 15 years. They can do their own job. Anyway, let's listen.
Of that narrative. Good gays. Good women. Good people. Act this way. Shape their bodies this way. Wear their hair this way. Walk this way. And yet, here we are in our inventions. And here we are teaching a course at a university whose history is violently opposed to the existence of the queer body. Violently.
All right, let's go back to that. Guys, this is the last off-topic question I'm going to answer. I need people to be focusing on the presentation, and I feel right now that people are asking a lot of questions outside of the presentation. While I appreciate the initiative, I need people to focus on what we're watching and to not ask questions that have nothing to do with the presentation. This is the last one I'm going to take unless you send me a super chat. Why do radical individual liberals have so much in common with woke cultural Marxists? They don't. They don't. They don't have anything in common with them. They don't agree with them. Liberals do not believe the same thing that queer Marxists do, which I explained earlier. What you're talking about are normie Democrats, gay rights activists who wanted to legalize gay marriage, queer Marxists, and we're going to use the proper term. It's queer Marxists, not cultural Marxists. It's queer. No. You're confused. You are confused probably because you have been listening to people who lied to you and you're not listening to the explanation I'm giving you now. Normie, gay, liberal, Democrats, gay rights activists wanted to legalize gay marriage. Queer Marxists did not want to legalize gay marriage. They're two completely different groups. You are confused because you listen to people who tell you they're all communists. Democrats are communists. Democrats are communists. They're all commies. They're all Marxists. This is cultural Marxism. They're Democrats are pushing cultural. The Democrats are not pushing cultural Marxism. That is a massive lie that's been shilled on the conservative right to get you guys to vote for Republicans as the lesser of two evils because you don't like the Republicans either, but you're like, well, they're better than the Democrats. The Democrats are a bunch of Marxists. The Democrats are not Marxists. The Democrats are not communists. The Democrats are not pushing their ideology. The Democrats are not trying to abolish gay marriage. The Democrats are not trying to abolish gays in the military. The Democrats are not trying to abolish the gender binary. The Democrats are not trying to abolish the nuclear family. They're not the same. They're not. These are two completely different groups. The queer Marxists lost when gay marriage was legalized. I'm going to say that again. The queer Marxist lost when gay marriage was legalized. The person who is teaching this class, which he has been teaching for 15 years, so he has been teaching this since before gay marriage was legalized. He never wanted gay marriage to be legalized because marriage is a form of property relationships that upholds the normative nuclear family, which reproduces capitalism. It was Democrats and liberals and normie gay rights activists who wanted gay marriage to be legalized. It was a completely different ideology. The queer Marxists never wanted it to be legalized because marriage equals capitalism. I hope that makes sense.
And here we are teaching a course at a university whose history is violently opposed to the existence of the queer body. Violently opposed. And that's because of us. And it's because of the people that came before us and what they were able to accomplish. So I'm talking today about a topic that the current leadership of the queer community, maybe for reasons of internalized oppression, maybe for reasons of self-interest or identity, refuse to accept. I'm talking about reinventing ourselves, recalibrating consciousness. And for most queer people, it is a valuable place to begin because it begins with the questions: who are we? Where do we come from? And what are we here for? And I'm wondering if any of you want to talk about that for a moment, you know, because I know outsiders have always asked these questions of ourselves. Usually laying on the floor or the ground, weeping and asking to be something else. Right? So in this reinvention possibility, who are we? Who are we? What are we here for?
Hey, bro. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go to the politics of marriage class, which has been taught at Seton Hall University for the past 15 years. And I want you to go directly to that class, and I want you to sit down. And when the professor comes in, I want you to go, "Excuse me, professor, did you know that this is a Catholic university and that Catholicism and communism are incompatible? So you're just going to cancel this class?" And I want you to watch what happens. You going to go do that? Do you understand why this is a stupid thing to say? First of all, no one can hear you. Secondly, it doesn't fucking matter. Thirdly, Seton Hall's not going to do shit about it. Fourthly, if you went to that class and spoke to that professor who's been teaching this class at the Catholic University for 15 years, nothing is going to change, and you're not going to do shit anyway. You're just going to mouth off in a chat and not listen. So can we stop debunking, please, and start listening to what is being said? Holy fucking shit, how stupid are you? Do we have the retard chat today? One in the chat if you think these people are being funded by George Soros. Two in the chat if you believe that's batshit fucking stupid. One in the chat if you think these people are being funded by George Soros. Two in the chat if you think that's batshit stupid. Can't even get through this lecture without descending into retardia. Trendolin, literally go fuck yourself, Trendolin.
And I'm not even talking about this metaphysically. You know, we could. I have been practicing at the Lakota Reservation for 30 years because mainstream religion told me that I was damned. There are theologies out there where in-between people live.
In between people?
Dash, Winkte, Lucanias.
He's talking about Two-Spirit.
We've been around for millennia. But who are we today? Who'd like to step into that a little bit? Who are we? Yeah.
I think part of the problem is that we've gotten so focused on labeling. I feel like that need to label ourselves. You know, if you're somebody who's born as, you're white, you're a man, you're Christian, etc., so on and so forth, you're not queer, you don't have to think about, well, which subgroups do I fall into? You're just you. You know, you're your career, your interests, what you study, your family, your heritage, but you don't have to like actively label yourself and try to explain yourself. I think that's kind of a trap.
So are you suggesting, Mike, that we are the unexplained? Are we the unnecessarily conditioned?
Okay, I want to just interject. This might be confusing for new people, but again, I'm going back and I'm explaining things for people who might not be familiar with queer Marxism. Queer Marxists reject identity politics. They reject identity altogether. It is Democrats, and this is another difference between Democrats and liberals and progressives and radical revolutionary queer Marxists. Democrats and liberals and progressives are the ones that push identity politics. Queer Marxists want to abolish all identity categories. They believe that all categories are socially constructed based on capitalism. They believe the only way to abolish capitalism, which is their ultimate goal, is to abolish all of these socially constructed categories because the categories create hierarchy. You cannot have an oppressor versus oppressed hierarchy without there being a category for oppressor and a category for oppressed, okay? So if you're talking about identity politics, you're talking about Democrats and liberals and progressives. If you're talking about abolishing, transforming, transcending all categorization, that's when you get into queer Marxism. Hey, thanks for the super chat. We are besieged by boomer cons. Yeah, well, hopefully the boomer comms will keep an open mind and they'll listen and they'll learn. Hopefully they do. Some have done it before. We've had some luck.
I think we're conditioned to label ourselves. I think we're conditioned to seek a label of who we are.
Well,
we are conditioned to label ourselves. What do they believe is conditioning us to label ourselves? Pop quiz for the chat. What do they believe is conditioning all of society to label ourselves? Label ourselves as man or woman, label ourselves as black or white, label ourselves as straight or gay, label what is conditioning us? Capitalism. Yeah. Capitalism creates all identity categories. Capitalism creates the oppressor categories. Capitalism creates the oppressed categories. It creates all categories. The labels come from the culture that capitalism creates. The categories are designed to continue to uphold and perpetuate the cultural aspects that reproduce capitalism. So when they're talking about being conditioned, that is exactly what they're talking about. Excellent answers, guys. So many people got that one right.
Conditioned?
I think we're conditioned to label ourselves. I think we're conditioned to seek a label of who we are.
Well, and that goes on both sides, right? Because in order for us to coalesce and have any kind of political traction, we had to say who we were politically. But this question is much more is existential. So I'm interested in this kind of mash. See, you have an idea?
I think that we exist as outside, we exist as deviant, and those things cause us to yearn for a sense of belonging, but I don't think that is necessarily our place. I feel like that our place is to be deconstructors. And I think that's what queerness in a sense does, and what we exist as is that we are meant to deconstruct, or since we cannot fit into what is dominantly expected, we have two options: to either fold in on ourselves and try to take an identity which protects us in relation to the world, or we choose opposite. I think a lot of problems that I have internally about this of the existential is why am I the way that I am? I think that's a very hard experience. I think especially for trans people is the need to justify my existence. Why do I live the way that I do? Why have I done the things I've done? But at the end of the day, no matter how hard I try to intellectualize it, and I feel like I can intellectualize it, the reality is that I just am.
So the question of who we are is all of that, and Wittig's insisting that we consider.
I just want to do a quick pause. I want to assess where the audience is at, because I'm getting at some of you are chatting in that leads me to believe this is the first time you've ever seen queer Marxism, which is fine. 1 in the chat if you have watched Queer Marxism with me before. 2 in the chat if this is your first time watching Queer Marxism with me. And please be honest, it's okay if this is your first time, because I would rather just know that you're completely new about it. I need to know how much I need to actually break down and understand, because as you can see, there's a lot of 1s in the chat, so a lot of people have watched Queer Marxism with me before. But there are a couple newbies, which is totally fine. Welcome to the insanity. Well, welcome to the most dystopian level insanity that you will find on the far left. Congratulations, you made it. We have a lot. So I need the 1s to be patient with me. And by the way, if you've watched Queer Marxism before, it benefits you guys to hear me explain things again and again, so that way you learn how to explain them. But I also need the 1s to keep in mind that we do have a bunch of new people with us that have never seen Queer Marxism before. And those people might be a little extra scared right now, because it's out there when you first start watching this stuff. And so let's welcome in our first timers. Let's welcome them in. Let's take care of them. And nope, wrong. Nope. You're not teaching the class. I'm teaching the class. No, wrong. We're talking about we're talking about the evolution in the United States. This had nothing to do with it. It's not useful to think about it in this way. This has nothing to do with Satanism. This has nothing to do with demons. This is a stupid thing that conservatives do to make everything about their Christianity when it's not about that. It's not useful to think about it in that way. Cool. Let's keep going.
You know, kind of on the other side of our survival. That answering the question of who we are isn't a performance of survival as much, from her point of view, is it puts us in the place that the created world is needful of. You see what I mean? Yeah. So she's saying, you know, because we know that midwifery was undone by male centrism because the healers were killed as witches.
What?
We know this. We have empirical evidence of this.
Okay.
Right? And so, and we know that in many cultures you see queer people in birth, in serving in shamanic ways during times of great transitions as people who stand on both sides or three sides.
He's talking about capitalism killing indigenous ritual is what he's talking about. Because when he says it's male centered, he's talking about capitalism because he's talking about the patriarchy. Okay, okay. So what they believe is that capitalism created the socially constructed roles of man and woman. They do not believe that men and women are a biological thing. When he's talking about men and women, he's talking about the patriarchy, which is the gender hierarchy. So when he's talking about they literally killed off midwifery by burning all the midwives as witches and that being part of the patriarchy, he's talking about capitalism destroying the indigenous rituals and all that bullshit that existed before capitalism, and all of the two-spirit indigenous people who didn't have a gender identity that existed for thousands of years, because these guys believe that basically non-binary people used to be spiritual leaders in Native American tribes, and it was the evil I swear this is what they believe. They believe it was the evil Europeans who colonized all the indigenous people who brought with them the gender identity. So they believe, and they write this in their documents, we've read some of them, they believe that for example, this is an American-centric example, but we're in America, so we're going to use it. They believe that when the Europeans came to America and colonized America, they basically brought with them the capitalist gender norms. They believe that, and whether or not this is true doesn't matter, they believe that Native Americans used to not have the gender binary, and that the non-binary people used to be the spiritual leaders of the community before the evil Europeans came in and colonized and brought with them the gender binary and forced all of the indigenous people into the colonizers' roles. That's a lot. Let me know if you have questions about that. But that's what he's talking about. He's like, when this killed off midwifery, he's talking about capitalism coming in and fucking up their culture, essentially. Your explanations help loads from what my daughters are saying. Thanks again. Hey, thank you two ladies. Thank you, daughters. I appreciate you guys.
12 sides and kind of moving their communities into another way, right? And without the queer spirit, our university has a deep lacking. Our families.
The fucking queer spirit. Hang on. Hang on. I gotta clip this. I already know that this is gonna end up as a clip. Without the queer spirit, our universities are left lacking. Okay. Anti-commie said we need a McCarlinism secret decoder. I'm working on the decoder ring, okay? I'm working on it. I can't do everything all at once. Sorry if my comment is out of context. I'm behind on a live due to dinner time. Well, that makes sense. I appreciate the super chat. Thank you. No debunking. I told you not to debunk. No debunking, please. It doesn't fucking matter. Cynthia has now upped the channel memberships to 10 channel memberships. Everyone thank Queen Cynthia for the channel memberships. Congratulations to everyone who got one. Cynthia is, you know what Cynthia is? Cynthia is like the people in the Capitol in the Hunger Games. So you got the Hunger Games going. You got a whole bunch of people that are trying to kill each other. And Cynthia is one of the rich bougie women with like the crazy hair and all the outfits in the Hunger Games. And she just sprinkles those little parachutes that go into the stadium, and they all come down and they're like doo 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 doo. They have bells when they come down. And so Cynthia is throwing out the memberships to all of the lowly peons in the Hunger Games, and we appreciate her for it. We salute you, Cynthia. Thank you. Okay, hang on. Let me just clip this real quick. Fucking queer spirit in our university.
And without the queer spirit, our university has a deep lacking. Our families, without our honesty in our families lack that healing. It's hard stuff. And all of us know, kind of coming out in the ways that we have to come out, that's one of the hardest places. Right? But Wittig is insisting that our reality for the last 50, maybe even 70 years in the West has been trying to answer those questions. Not from the perspective of our survival, but from the perspective of where are we? Because we are here.
Not great.
So,
well, okay, hang on. Someone asked the question. I want to answer it. Listen, so first off, I'm going to say telling me not to yell at you substantially increases the chance I'm going to yell at you. If you can't deal with me, you can't deal with the left. And being like, just ask the fucking question. Like, honestly, like, it's actually annoying to me when people do this. So you've actually caused me to yell at you by just not asking the question and just being done with it, okay? Is it too late to ask what two-spirit is? No, I guess not. Two-spirit means no gender. It is an indigenous person that is a non-binary person, but it's only indigenous people. There are no two-spirit people that are not indigenous. So it's just another fancy way of being non-binary within indigenous framework. That's all it is. Cynthia! 10 more channel memberships. Are you serious? Cynthia is sprinkling Black Friday already. It's Black Friday, courtesy of Cynthia, except you guys aren't spending any money. Cynthia's just giving it all away. Spreading the wealth of the channel membership. Thank you, Cynthia. You are our queen. You are our Thanksgiving goddess. We appreciate you. Congrats to everyone who got a channel membership.
Because we're here, there's a reason. There's the possibility of purpose. And it's not taking on the identities or the techniques of oppressors. That's the game. That's how we are captured. That is how we are paralyzed in a circle.
So how we are captured, how we are paralyzed is when we take on the techniques of the oppressors. The oppressors is always a reference to capitalism. There is no oppressive category that capitalism did not create. So when he's talking about our downfall will come when we take on the identities of the oppressors, when we take on the techniques of the oppressors. He's talking about when they internalize capitalism, when they take on capitalist norms, when they take on capitalist identities like man or woman. Man or woman is a capitalist identity because it's a socially constructed category based on capitalism. So that's what he's saying there. Yeah, assimilation. That's assimilation. Exactly.
And it's not taking on the identities or the techniques of oppressors. That's the game. That's how we are captured. That is how we are paralyzed in a circle of performance. And speaking of performance, I mean, if you look at our history, you see us in ways that served heteronormative society, but also served.
Heteronormative society means capitalist society. It's a cartoon about capitalism. It's a cartoon about a store. It's a cartoon about capitalism, guys.
Society, but also served to prove that we were here.
Oh, it's a bar. Okay, so I just want to stop here. What do you guys see in this cartoon? What do you guys see in this cartoon? We see a bourgeois capitalist who's coming into this store, and this looks to be like an old-timey general store with like like a soda fountain or whatever. So you got the old-timey, this is the capitalist, and we know because he's dressed up in a suit and he has a tie, and the capitalist wants a soda at the soda fountain, or maybe it's alcohol too, it might be alcohol. And so we've got the bougie person here, and then who is serving the bougie person? The worker, the proletarian, the oppressed. And the bougie person, the bougie capitalist, is bossing around the oppressed worker. Does everyone see that? This is a cartoon about capitalism. That's why he's showing this. It may not have originally been intended that way, but that is why he's showing this. Does everyone understand? Also, if we're being honest about it, that guy looks gay too, which is weird. Like that bougie cartoon with a tie, he looks gay. Uh-oh. Oh no! He's actually a monster. The capitalist is a monster. Hard to see now. What did that say? It's very hard for me to see, but it just had some text on the screen, so I want to try to see what it says.
Wait. This kind of stuff is we're still struggling with this.
Are they paying $78,000 a year at Seton Hall for this? Well, understand this. What you are seeing now is representative of what is taught at colleges all over the country. This is not one college class at one university. This is a sneak peek of what is being taught in every college, pretty much, all over the country right now. So think about that.
You know, we're still moving through these tropes of behavior and recognition. Listen to this. This is LBJ and Hoover, who was a closet case. Talking.
He got the suspicion that his mannerisms and so forth were such that they were suspicious. Yeah, he worked for me for 4 or 5 years, but he wasn't even suspicious of me. But I guess you're going to have to teach me something about this stuff. Well, you know, I often wonder what the next crisis is going to be. I swear I can't recognize them. I don't know anything about it.
I can't recognize
them. You just can't tell sometimes, just like in the case of this popular Texas radio. Well, no indication in any way. No. I know it pretty well, and he looked at it also, and there was no suspicion, no indication. There are some people who walk kind of from it so far, and you might kind of think, was it off?
What a threat that the President of the United States is talking to the director of the FBI about us. How to take us.
What did that say? Hang on, I need to go back. I do know, so I've actually seen, because again, I was researching this stuff when I was working on this section of my book. The FBI was absolutely tracking the activities of like the Mattachine Society very early on. The FBI, did you guys know the FBI used to actually pay attention to communist organizing in America? They don't anymore, but they did back then.
This is LBJ and Hoover, who was a closet case. Talking.
He got the suspicion that his mannerisms and so forth were such that they were suspicious. Yeah, he worked for me for 4 or 5 years, but he wasn't even suspicious of me. But I guess you're going to have to teach me something about this stuff. Well, you know, I often wonder what the next crisis is going to be. I swear I can't recognize them. I don't know anything about it.
I can't recognize them.
You just can't tell sometimes, just like in the case of this popular Texas radio. Well, no indication in any way. No. I know it pretty well, and he looked at it also, and there was no suspicion, no indication. There are some people who walk kind of from it so far, and you might kind of think, was it off?
What a threat.
Wow.
That the President of the United States is talking to the director of the FBI about us. How to take us out. And that the effect of these things is extraordinary. And the search for the answer to those questions that are beyond the performance evaluation of those questions is more relevant for you now, perhaps, than it was even for the people before Stonewall. And I mean that because today, our dominant culture has moved us into a category of assimilation.
Oh! They're talking about a cultural model. The left never talks about individuals, or very rarely, I should say. They're talking about the cultural model of capitalism. They're talking about queer activists that are trying to undermine capitalism. They're talking about communist organizers that are trying to overthrow capitalism. That's what they're talking about. So when he says, moved us into a category of assimilation, this is the crux of the normie LGBT, like gay rights activists, like the Democrat and liberal gay rights activists, and the queer Marxists. The normie Democrat, liberal gay rights activists wanted to assimilate to capitalist culture. They are referred to as the assimilationists. Queer Marxists are anti-assimilationist. They are anti-capitalist norms. They do not want gender to exist. They do not want marriage to exist. They don't want the nuclear family to exist. There are other things too, but those are the main ones. So assimilation, normie LGBT rights activists, gay marriage is a form of assimilation. What year was Stonewall? 1969. Stonewall was one of the major milestones of the queer liberation movement. It was not the only milestone, but it was one of the major ones. We'll talk about that another day. Cynthia! Cynthia in with the super sticker. Our champion Cynthia, our queen. Thank you, Cynthia, for the super sticker. I appreciate it. So when he's talking about assimilation, he's talking about gay marriage. He's talking about gays in the military. He's talking about traditional gender binary of men and women. He's talking about Democrats. He's talking about liberals. He's talking about progressives. He's talking about Obama. He's talking about Biden. He's talking about Clinton. He's like the Democratic Party is included in the assimilationist mindset. They do not like the Democrats any more than they like the Republicans. It's very important for people to understand this. In order to understand queer Marxism, you have to understand the difference between the assimilationists, the capitalist assimilationists. You might also hear them say heteronormativity or just normativity. Anytime they're talking about normativity, that means the cultural norms that uphold capitalism. And you have to know the difference between the assimilationists and the anti-assimilationists because it is a completely different ideology. Yes, but I want to talk about that another day. But you're not wrong about the Starbucks strike, and that's going to be bigger than more people think, but we're going to do that another day. But you're not wrong about that, Richard. Okay, listen again.
Dominant culture has moved.
And the dominant culture he's talking about is, of course, capitalism.
Today, our dominant culture has.
Hang on. This is actually a good question. Sorry. We got a super chat from Prince here. And guys, I know that YouTube has switched over to the handles. I don't remember your other names, so you got to change your handle if you want me to call you something different. Prince says, is there a way that non-binary is not related to anti-capitalism? No. Non-binary was specifically created as a third category to get people out of the gender binary. Non-binary means no binary. No binary means anti-capitalist because they believe capitalism created the gender binary. You cannot be outside of the gender binary and still be in a capitalist framework. Because non-binary is a category that was created specifically to undermine capitalism. And if you're saying, well, Karlyn, you just told us the queer Marxists are not in favor of identity categories, eventually they want to abolish that one too. They don't want non-binary to exist forever. They've written about this. They're like, eventually we need to get rid of that category too, because in that category, that is also a category. But it's like a transitional category to get people out of the gender binary, to get them to see that there is an option other than the gender binary. But eventually, once they reach a critical mass, they want to get rid of that category too.
Today,
No. Just because someone doesn't understand doesn't mean that it changes the meaning of it. It doesn't make a difference at all. If someone, again, this is an issue of conservatives believing that that leftists don't understand what they're talking about. What you're saying is they just don't know. No, they do know. The left knows what they're doing. The left you've been around long enough that you know this. I recognize your picture. The left knows what they are doing. It is the right that doesn't know. And because you guys don't know, you assume the left doesn't know. Well, what about all these innocent people that are identifying as non-binary? There are no fucking liberals that are identifying as non-binary. If someone's identifying as non-binary, they are a radical leftist. Their politics are radical leftism. You just don't know that, maybe because you haven't talked to them enough. But I promise if you actually talk to them and sussed out what their politics are, they're going to be naming anti-capitalist ideology after anti-capitalist. That is the only way people get introduced to this thing. So just because you don't understand what it means does not mean they don't understand what it means. There's literally no instance in which someone is non-binary and a capitalist. Non-binary is inherently anti-capitalist. It is anti-assimilationist. That is the only point of the category existing.
Our dominant culture has moved us into a category of assimilation. And
yeah, this is right. Correct.
If we are able to perform in the same ways and at the same level of the dominant culture,
capitalism,
then we're able to fit in and we're able to succeed.
Yep.
If we're not, then we are relegated to incarceration or to suicide, or to economic banishment. So,
if we don't assimilate to capitalist culture, they put us in jail, they make the conditions so that we commit suicide, or we are relegated to economic abandonment. So let's just go through this one by one.
Incarceration.
Hang on.
Dominant culture, then we're able to fit in and we're able to succeed.
If we assimilate to capitalist culture, that is, we take on capitalist gender norms like men and women, and we get married and we have kids and we have a nuclear family, then we fit into capitalist society and we're able to succeed.
If we're not, then we are relegated to incarceration.
All right. Why might people be incarcerated for being outside of the normative capitalist ideology? I'm going to tell you. A lot of queer Marxists do sex work. Sex work is, although it's kind of a commentary on capitalism and the exploitative nature of capitalism, sex work is designed to basically be outside of the capitalist normative values. And so sex work being illegal is the primary way in which queer Marxists end up getting arrested and incarcerated, because they're doing illegal sex work. That's what they're talking about there. Moving on.
Or to suicide.
To suicide. The conditions of capitalism make it so hard for us to exist that we have no other possibility. This is when doctors are saying, would you rather have a trans kid or a dead kid? That's what that is.
Or to economic banishment.
Economic banishment means you can't get a capitalist job if you do not adhere to capitalist norms. Okay? Economic banishment is specifically a reference that you can't have a more direct reference to capitalism without saying capitalism.
So, in a way, the politics, queer politics, has brought your
Okay. We're back to retard territory. They're instructing students to be willful losers. Is that what you just took out of this? Dog catcher. Is that what you just took out of my meticulous breakdown and explanation that I've been doing for the last hour plus about this presentation? Is that all you took out of this? That they're instructing students to be willful losers. You need to respond to me. If you don't respond to me, I'm going to ban you from the channel. Is that all you took out of this? Let's get this super chat while we're waiting for him to respond. I guess I was that rare chance that I honestly had no idea that considering myself non-binary for being a tomboy growing up was Marxist until recently. Well, you adopted a political ideology that you didn't understand. I mean, you're not non-binary for being a tomboy. People can be tomboys without being non-binary. Non-binary is a political ideology. So this is one of those things where who introduced you to that concept? Where did that concept come from? Did you learn that in school? If you learned that in school, you had socialist teachers who were indoctrinating you to a political ideology. Did you learn it from your friends? Your friends were reading socialist books or socialist, so you learned it on the internet. Okay, so you got involved in far left circles. You didn't understand what you were getting involved in, and you were being pulled into a far left cult. But I promise you, the people who introduced you to that idea were Marxists. Every book you read reinforcing that idea was written by a far left socialist. Every person you read on the internet talking about that idea was a Marxist. Yeah, I know, because that idea is a Marxist idea. All right, going back to this person, is this all you took out of this? Nope, that's not the same. How do you not understand that that's not the same thing? He said that they had to assimilate to capitalism to succeed. That was a follow-up to that. No, it wasn't, bro. No, it wasn't. Because you obviously didn't listen to what I said. They do not believe. What you're doing is trying to advance a conservative bullshit talking point that everyone that doesn't agree with you is a loser. You're trying to feel morally superior. That is not the exercise that we're doing. There is nothing about what I just said that leads to they're instructing students to be losers. No. They are instructing students to undermine capitalist society. They are instructing students to undermine the normative values that uphold everything that we know in the United States today. The students in this class are going to be teachers in your kids' school. The person who just said in the chat, I got sucked into this and I didn't know what it was. They had these people for teachers in school. They had these people as the people they were reading on the internet. This is not about they're being losers. And if they're losers, then I can just dismiss them because I'm a winner and they're a loser. It's such a conservative bullshit talking point. These people are teaching your kids. You are sending your kids to learn from these people. Who's the loser now? Who's the loser now? How many of you have sent your kids to school to learn from a loser that was in one of these classes? Oh, you guys are doing just great. Just awesome. Well done. You want to know why so many kids think they're non-binary? Because you guys send your kids to school to learn from the people in this fucking class. So who's the loser now? maybe the better idea, other than saying something to own the libs so that you can feel morally superior, maybe the better idea is to actually learn what these people believe in the way that they understand it, rather than just feeling like I'm a winner and they're a loser, okay? Because they went to this liberal college, they learned these liberal ideas, and they're a loser and I am a winner. It's such a stupid mindset that conservatives have. I swear to God.
Or to economic banishment.
Hang on, we got a super chat from Angry Gringo over on Rumble. I asked ChatGPT, what does queer theory state about the lumpen proletariat and their role in society? It shows the difference from Karl Marx versus queer theory, sex work, and utilizing what Marx discarded. ChatGPT, just so you guys know, ChatGPT does a fairly good job with this stuff, but it does not get everything right, not by a long shot. And so always double check ChatGPT, because it gets a lot of stuff right, and ChatGPT can actually be very insightful in terms of like understanding things, but it does get some stuff wrong. So always make sure you're fact checking it, just in case. But I appreciate the super chat. Thank you.
So, in a way, the politics, queer politics, has brought your generation
Queer
to
politics.
a threshold.
Oh.
Where you now get to consider who we are, why we're here, and where we come from in a very different way. Maybe because we have this space. And, you know, your lives are going to be profoundly altered by your answering of that question. And our political movement, to the extent that we are able to continue it from the perspective of race and gender and sexual orientation, is going to be profoundly affected by how that question is answered. So the feminist movement has already been judged as compromising its principles.
Oh, the feminist movement has already been judged by as compromising its principles. What does that mean? Pop quiz for the chat. What does that mean? And in order to answer that question, I'm going to show you guys one of the books holding up my microphone right now. It's a book called Enemy Feminisms by our queen, Sophie Lewis. And this is a book that a member of my community got Sophie Lewis to sign for me against her will, because she didn't know she was signing it for me at the time. But what is this? What does that mean? Feminism is compromising its principles. What does that mean? It means TERFs. On the left, not all feminism is equal. In fact, the only feminists, so this is an entire book. This is an entire book about how if you are not an anti-capitalist, you are not a real feminist. That's what this book is about. It's about all the different types of feminists that are not anti-capitalist, and therefore they are enemy feminists because they are not anti-capitalist. That is the premise of what he's about to say. So it's not even just TERFs. It's anyone that wants to assimilate to normative capitalist values is considered to be compromising their principles.
Nation is going to be profoundly affected by how that question is answered. So the feminist movement has already been judged as compromising its principles. Because the feminists, at least, that were writing in the Radical Times were speaking that they didn't want the jobs that men have. They didn't want the life of neo-capitalism.
Boom!
They didn't want to be.
Oh, he finally said it. He finally said it. The real feminists, the original feminists, they didn't want the capitalist jobs. The real feminists, the original feminists, didn't want to participate in neo-capitalism. What did I say? Can I get a round of Karlyn was right in the chat, please? The feminists were compromising their principles when they became capitalists. The feminists were compromising their principles when they got the capitalist jobs, because that put them into the capitalist matrix. Not all feminists are real feminists. The only way to be a real feminist in the minds of queer Marxists is to be an anti-capitalist. I was right the whole time. The whole time. No one listened. It's all right. Andre, notice they're recruiting students to overthrow capitalist governments. Far left clearly wants Marxist governments, no matter if local, state, or federal. Well, they don't want a government exactly, but I understand what you're saying. Thanks for the super chat.
So the feminist movement has already been judged as compromising its principles. Because the feminists, at least, that were writing in the Radical Times were speaking that they didn't want the jobs that men have. They didn't want the life of neo-capitalism. They didn't want to be equals. They wanted to be different. And they wanted men to be different. The same thing in the civil rights movement. It's been compromised. It's not about legal equality, because clearly that is not equal. Legal equality is not equal. And to prove it, let's all speed through South.
Pop quiz for the chat. Why is this queer Marxist professor saying legal equality under the law is not equal? Why is he saying that? The civil rights movement is compromised. They wanted equality, but legal equality is not equal. Why isn't equality equal? Because equality is oppression? People are saying equality is oppression. Okay, tell me more about that. Because the laws are oppressive because they uphold capitalism. That's exactly right. Equality still upholds the capitalist system. Equality still upholds the capitalist model, which means the capitalist model is an inherently unequal model. The capitalist model is about the oppressor versus oppressed, the bourgeois versus the proletariat. Equality still upholds this capitalist model. The only way in order, and by the way, that means some people have more money and resources than other people. That's all that means. Bourgeois means you have money and you have property. Marxism wants to abolish all money and they want to abolish all property. Abolishing all money and abolishing all property creates equity. Equity means from each according to their ability to each according to their need. Equity means everyone in society has access to all the resources and all of the property. Okay? That is what is considered to be equal. When you get rid of all categories, you level the hierarchy, and everyone has access to all of the property. That's what that means. Gay marriage is still oppressive because it is a capitalist form of relationship. Exactly.
Equal. Legal equality is not equal. And to prove it, let's all speed through South Orange with all of our complexions and see who gets in trouble. The queer movement, on the heels of those political times and those political lives, is now in that place. And we know it's in that place because politics is one more time trying to refocus its critique of the outliers. And the outliers are those that challenge the status quo in its most primary way, which is the binary.
The binary, the gender binary.
Women challenge this when they refuse to marry.
Oh!
Women challenge this when they refuse to have children.
I need to swallow a cough drop. Hang on. The binary is what we're talking about, upholding oppressive society. Women challenge the binary when they refuse to get married because getting married puts them into the patriarchal role of having the kids within the proletarian nuclear family. Women challenge the binary when they refuse to have children because they are not reproducing capitalism by raising the kids in the nuclear family with the capitalist norms. Also, when women don't marry and have children, they are bypassing the system of generational wealth. And so fathers won't have kids to pass the privatized wealth onto. That's a form of private property ownership. That's a part of capitalism. But also, if you guys are wondering why the far left is so into abortion, abortion liberates women from the gender binary so they don't have to participate in the socially oppressed role based on their reproductive capability. Abortion also eliminates having children within the so-called nuclear family that are going to grow up to become the oppressed proletarian workers in society. Does everyone understand what I'm saying? Hey, guess what, bro? They're teaching your kids this and most of them believe it. So maybe shut the fuck up and listen. I don't know why their ideas would work. Hey, how many states is abortion legal on demand pretty much up to birth? What percent of kids in school believe that they are not a specific gender? What percent of kids in school believe that the gender spectrum is a thing, that they can switch their gender like it? These ideas won't work except that your kids already believe them. No one's going to believe this except that your kids already do. These kids are never gonna. These ideas are never gonna work. How many women vote only on the issue of abortion? How much money does the left raise on the issue of abortion alone? These ideas are never going to work. They do work. Just provably. Right in front of you. Right now. Does that change if childbearing is outsourced to something like a synthetic womb? Yes, it does, but let me explain why. If childbearing is outsourced to a synthetic womb, which is something they do talk about, you have no parental rights. No parental rights means no passing of private property from parent to child. No parental rights means you're raising kids outside of the capitalist set of norms because there are no parental rights. There are no privatized families. The kids are being raised on the commune. The left is not opposed to having children. The left is opposed to raising kids in the capitalist normative way in the nuclear family. They are opposed to raising kids with capitalist values. So they're not opposed to having children. They'll have children, but they don't want it to be in the context of a nuclear family. This is why polyamory is very popular on the left. Not everyone who's polyamorous is a leftist, but a lot of leftists are polyamorous for this specific reason. Listen.
Focus its critique of the outliers. And the outliers are those that challenge the status quo in its most primary way, which is the binary. Women challenge this when they refuse to marry. Women challenge this when they refuse to have children in a traditional way, perhaps.
In a
maybe
traditional
through
way.
adoption. Queer people challenge this in the way that we can as well without by living our question. If we don't ask this question, I think that what we'll find is the critique of the course that I teach, which is that the fight for marriage is a fight for assimilation.
Yo!
Not is a course that I teach, which is that the fight for marriage is a fight for assimilation.
The fight for marriage is a fight for assimilation. What have I been telling you guys? Queer Marxists never wanted marriage to be legal in the first place for gay people. They never wanted gay marriage to be legalized because gay marriage was a form of, it was how the capitalists got the gays to assimilate to capitalist culture. Gay marriage was assimilationist. Queer activism is anti-assimilationist. Gay marriage was pushed by Democrats and liberals and progressives. They were fighting with the queer liberationists, the queer Marxists for decades. They were having open debates about this stuff. And it was all written in their papers, which we've gone back and read. If you believe that and by the way, conservatives are still bitching and complaining about gay marriage and threatening to repeal it. Conservatives should thank their lucky stars that the Supreme Court did not repeal gay marriage. Because had the Supreme Court actually repealed gay marriage, the queer Marxists would have won. The normie liberals would be instantly radicalized to the queer Marxist far left. Because these guys never wanted gay marriage to be legalized in the first place. And as a reminder, this guy has been teaching this course at Seton Hall University for 15 years. That was before gay marriage was legalized. Gay marriage was legalized in 2015. This guy has been teaching this since 2010. And 2010 is when they were originally having some of their hardest fights about, we don't want to legalize gay marriage. Why are you guys putting all these resources into legalizing gay marriage? They were talking about this in the mid-2000s in papers and in manifestos and in all of this stuff. This is all publicly available. We've read it before. This guy never wanted gay marriage to be legalized. His friends, his comrades, they never wanted it to be legalized because gay marriage was the fight for assimilation. Does everyone understand? Everyone understand? This might be blowing the minds of some people who think that all queer people wanted gay marriage to be legalized. So I just want to take a minute and make sure we're crystal clear about this. You have got to understand this if you're going to understand queer Marxism. This has been and the reason I'm harping on this so much is, again, I've been doing a lot of research on this for years now because I'm working on a book about the development of this ideology. It is so crystal clear. If you go back and actually read their writings and their zines, they never wanted gay marriage to be legalized in the first place. And they were fighting with the Democrats. They were fighting with the Human Rights Campaign. They were fighting with all the kind of like liberal nonprofits that were pushing gay marriage. These guys, queer Marxists back in the mid-2000s, they were sabotaging pride events. They were sabotaging liberal events. They actually... Hang on a second. I'm going to show you something. Hang on. Hang on. We're going to look at a PDF called, does this have the pictures in it? Fuck. Here's the PDF. We're going to look at this PDF. This is called Queer Ultraviolence, the Bashback Anthology, but I want to show you specific pictures in this PDF. I'm pretty sure they're in here. Hang on. There's a lot of words in here, but there's also, I'm pretty sure, some pictures. That's real nice, isn't it? Hang on. Where the fuck is it? It might not be in this. It might be in a different Bashback zine. Shit, is it not in this? There's a specific Bashback zine. Reagan, do you know which one I'm talking about? There's a... Oh, wait, hang on. Just random pictures. There's a very specific picture that I'm looking for. This is actually a 400-page manifesto, basically. Reagan, do you know which zine I'm talking about? I think you probably do. Fuck. Let me, hang on. I'm going to play you guys a preview I made for my book that I'm working on. It was supposed to come out earlier this year. It didn't because I didn't finish it in time, and I'm still working on it. But I made a preview video. Hang on. I just need to find it. Actually, no, I want it on the shit. Here it is. Okay. Okay. So what I'm about to play for you, this is a book that I'm working on. It says it's coming out on May, and it didn't come out in May. I didn't finish it because I'm still working on it. I needed to do more research. I needed more time. But this is a preview I made, and all of the pictures in this preview are real. These are all pictures that I took from far left zines, from queer Marxist zines that I was researching when I started writing this book. And so I want you just to look at some of the pictures in this, okay? And it's got cool music too, okay?
The lucky guy was Sharon. Sharon got Sharia. She was sharing Sharon's outlook on the topic of disease. Mikey had a facial scar and Bobby was a racist. They were all in love with dying. They were doing it in Texas. Tommy played piano like a kid out in the rain. Then he lost his leg in Dallas. He was dancing with the train. They were all in love with dying. They were drinking from a fountain that was pouring like an avalanche coming down the mountain. I don't mind.
So these are all pictures. All of these pictures are real from the mid-2000s, okay? So I just want to go through these pictures slowly. Militant queers out of the closet into the streets. This is the early bashback movement stuff.
Sharon got
Liberation, not state sanctioned. There's the upside down pink triangle with the A. That means queer anarchy, queer Marxism.
Sharia. She was Sharon.
HRC. The HRC is the Human Rights Campaign. The HRC is one of the primary nonprofit organizations that was pushing gay marriage in the mid-2000s. This is the queer Marxists literally giving the finger to the Human Rights Campaign, because the Human Rights Campaign wanted gay marriage to be legalized, and they did not want gay marriage to be legalized. And these were the types of things that were in their materials in the mid-2000s.
outlook on the topic of disease.
Bashback, you can see on the flag there.
Mikey had a facial scar and Bobby was a racist.
No pride in corporate greed. Queer Marxists, queer liberationists were attacking pride parades. They thought pride and pride festivals were too capitalist. This is where the idea of rainbow capitalism comes from. So they were going to pride events specifically to protest them.
They were all in love with God.
That's the Mary Nardini gang. You can see pink and black, no red. This is not black bloc. This is pink and black bloc. It's fundamentally different than Antifa.
They were doing it in Texas. Tommy played.
This is when they attacked a church and they went in and staged this big militant event in a church. They actually ended up getting sued for this.
Piano like a kid out in the
Bashback against, what is that? Gentrification.
and then he lost his leg.
HRC is not for me. Again, this is another thing I want to show you guys. This is another attack on the Human Rights Campaign, because the Human Rights Campaign in the mid-2000s was like their biggest enemy. They're saying, no, we are not a part of your liberal assimilationist culture. We do not want marriage to be legalized. Stop fucking around. Like, this was the biggest fight these people had. They were not fighting the conservatives. They were fighting the liberals. I got it, Reagan. Don't worry about it. I know you know which one I'm talking about, though.
In Dallas, he was dancing with the train. They were all in love with God.
This was one of their first national convergences or national conferences. They had one of these in 2008 and 2009, the Bashback Convergence.
They were drinking from a fountain
That's
that
the
was
book.
pouring like an
And this is, again, them marching in a pride parade. This was a pride thing for them. These F words kill fat. I'm not going to say it, whatever. I'm not in the mood to say the F word, okay? I just wanted to show you this to again, basically prove to you guys just really emphatically These guys were not in favor of gay marriage. They were fighting the Human Rights Campaign. They were fighting the assimilationists. And by the way, all of this stuff was publicly available. It's just that no one on the right has actually looked at it, so no one on the right actually understands it, which is why I'm harping on it a little bit. Okay, let's go back to this.
I think that what we'll find is the critique of the course that I teach, which is that the fight for marriage is a fight for assimilation,
Boom.
not liberation.
Oh! Not liberation, because liberation would not involve marriage, because marriage is a capitalist institution. Thank you, Dustin, for the 5 channel memberships, giving Cynthia a run for her money. Everyone, congratulations if you got a channel membership from Dustin. I really appreciate it, bro. No, this is way before that. What I just showed you was from 20 years ago. What we're talking about right now is this thing was last month. What we're talking about happened 20 years ago. The bashback movement started 20 years ago.
And I can be a good gay if I'm married and I'm monogamous.
Real.
And I pay my taxes.
Yo! I can be a good gay if I'm married and I'm monogamous and I pay my taxes. Those are all considered to be forms of what they call homonormativity. Homonormativity means being a good gay that gets married and is in a capitalist monogamous relationship and pays your taxes into the capitalist ecosystem and gets a capitalist job and all that stuff. It's being a proper gay. It's being a professional gay. That's considered to be homonormative, which is considered to be a slur by queer Marxists. Yo, in with Matt, in with the 5 memberships as well. Thanks, Matt, for supporting the channel. Congrats to everyone who got a channel membership from Matt. Hey, I appreciate that, bro. I'm trying. I love queer Marxism, but every time we get new people on the channel, I have to teach it all over again. So I'm getting better at it, I think. But this is so true. This is so true. I'm trying to teach the entirety of America what queer Marxism is by myself. Listen to this again.
Ask this question. I think that what we'll find is the critique of the course that I teach, which is that the fight for marriage is a fight for assimilation, not liberation. And I can be a good gay if I'm married and I'm monogamous and I pay my taxes and buy things that I can't afford.
Capitalism.
And the same thing applies here at the university.
Oh!
You know, your generation, what is the statistic now? Like low 20% are identifying as queer, which really doesn't have anything necessarily to do with sexual orientation.
Yo! I need a round of Karlyn was right in the chat, please. I knew this was going to be a good presentation. I just knew it. I can always sniff these things out. I knew this was going to be a good one. 20% of young people identify as queer, and that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with sexual orientation, because being queer is a political ideology. It is not about being gay. It is not about being trans. It is a political ideology. And for everyone who thinks these ideas are crazy, 20% of kids at a low estimate are identifying as queer. Not so crazy anymore, is it? That's more than enough to have a revolution. You guys know that if 20% of the population rebels, that is a revolution. You don't need that many people to have a revolution. You need like 12% of the population. 20% of young people are identifying as queer as a low estimate. That's a revolution right there. This is my FU. I was right, as always. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate it. Again, sir. Again, please.
Here at the university. And the same thing applies here at the university. You know, your generation, what is the statistic now? Like low 20% are identifying as queer.
Yo, I know.
Which
I know.
really doesn't have anything necessarily to do with sexual orientation.
No, it doesn't.
But clearly, younger people are connecting with the roles that are expected of them are not just unsatisfying, but that they are mendacious. They do bodily harm. And they replicate like a
Seton Hall.
virus so that I begin, as a member of these communities, to harm myself and the people within the community. If race communities and gendered communities, conscious gender communities and queer communities coalesce, I mean, the power of that, I think, is what we're here for. Because here's the thing. We know we don't fit. We know that. Doesn't matter how we look. We know that the story doesn't fit. And existentially, what do you do with that? What are you thinking?
And by the way,
I mean, what?
I just want to say this too. Does that professor look queer to you? If you were to see that professor walking down the street, would you think he was queer? And again, let's actually get a better picture of him. We know he is Dr. W. King Mott. So let's look him up real quick. Not finding images of him right off the bat. Here we go. I'm trying to find a good image of him. King Mott. He goes by King Mott. There he is. Okay, found him. I literally just want to see the picture, though. This guy right here. Open image in new tab. This guy. Make this bigger. If you guys saw this guy walking down the street, would you think he was queer? 1 in the chat if this guy looks queer to you. 2 in the chat if he does not look queer to you. If you guys just saw this guy out in the world and you didn't talk to him and you didn't hear any of his ideas and you just saw him walking down the street, would you go, he is a revolutionary queer Marxist? If you're saying you would identify this guy as queer just based on walking by him on the street, you're a liar. I'm sorry. Because I think a lot of times people think that queer people have the crazy hair and the shaved heads and the tattoos and they're always shouting and they're really stupid and they say really dumb things. This is actually usually more what they look like. They look like normal people. They look like you or me. We've got to stop judging people based on their looks, based on their haircut, based on the clothes they wear. It's one of the dumbest things that people on the right do. You would not be able to identify this person as a revolutionary queer Marxist unless you actually heard him speak and heard his ideas. If you put this guy next to me on the street and you said to the average conservative, Pick out which one of them is the far leftist and pick out which one of them is on the right. And it was just me and just him. And he's dressed like he is in this video. He's got a beard. He's got a hat. He's got a plaid flannel. He's wearing jeans. If you put me, who usually I wear all black, I've usually got some crazy t-shirt on. My hair is like all crazy. I'm usually wearing black eye makeup. If you put me next to him in a lineup and you said pick out the queer Marxist, every single conservative would pick me over him. Every single one. And that's the problem. Because people are judging based on how people look rather than the content of what they're saying. So maybe stop doing that. Maybe stop making assumptions. Perhaps we should stop making assumptions. Because in your world, you would be on his team and he's a revolutionary queer Marxist that wants to abolish gender.
What if this is the time? Where the most could be made. And you know, it doesn't.
Oh yeah? Oh yeah? Oh yeah? Physiognomy is real. Oh yeah? Bro, you didn't even know the difference between liberals and fucking queer Marxists like an hour ago. Perhaps there's other things you don't know, retard. You literally didn't know the difference between liberals and Marxists like an hour ago. But it's real. But I swear it's real. I want to judge people based on their looks. I want to judge people based on the size of their nose or the haircut that they have or whether or not they dye their hair, whether they have long hair or short hair. It's all real. It's all real. I swear it's all real. Except you didn't know the difference between liberals and Marxists an hour ago. Maybe stop doing that.
It doesn't begin with these grand gestures.
Yeah, source. Trust me, bro. Exactly.
It really begins in the most private recesses of consciousness. You know, refusing the categorization.
Refusing the categorization.
Refusing the bondage.
The bondage of capitalism.
What are you thinking?
Oh, no way. I bet he's
The
happy.
generation's time. I mean, we couldn't do a lot of that. I mean,
Yeah, source. I made it the fuck up.
you know, well until my adult life, if you are making out in a car in South Mountain and you're arrested, you're
Okay, this is also because you don't understand what they're saying because you're a conservative. It feels like he's trying to be revolutionary, but he's covering it up to protect his job. Firstly, he's been teaching this for 15 years. His job is secure. Secondly, he understands his language and everyone in the class understands what he is saying. The people who do not understand this are people like you who don't listen to the left and don't understand their language. He's not covering up anything. He's not being covert. Every single person in that room knows what he is saying. You do not understand what he is saying because you don't speak the same language that they do. So again, please, for the love of God, conservatives, stop projecting your lack of knowledge onto other people. When you understand what they are saying, it is very, very clear. He is not being covert. He has written, exactly, they write thousands of books talking about what they believe, and Mizakan reads them for us, and he's a warrior for doing it. These people are not they're not trying to be like, but do you know what I really mean? Everyone in the class knows what he really means. Yeah, he's being very clear to anyone who speaks the language. Exactly. He's not being subtle. He's not being subtle. I'm from New Jersey. I'm very sorry to hear that. Graduated from New Jersey NJIT decades ago. It's hard for me to absorb all this to form good questions. Very concerning. Can't believe this is a classroom today. Hey, thank you. Stick around. You know, the questions will come. The questions will come. Yeah, this is not subtle if you know how to speak their language. Well, he might get there. We still have... We're only halfway through this presentation. Okay, I've got to shut the fuck up and we need to listen to this. In this case, I need to shut the fuck up. Taking 4
in
hours to watch an
jail,
hour-long
probably
presentation.
sexually assaulted and charged as a sex offender. And you're making out with an adult the same way that heterosexuals are doing all over the place, right? And then everybody died with AIDS.
Act up.
But we did move the thing.
We did move. He was part of the Act Up movement. Bet you he was.
We moved, ACT UP moved it.
Yo! Act Up! What did I just say? Karlyn was right.
The police were terrified of who was
Again.
spit. And so we would spit on them.
He was part of the Act
spit
Up
at them,
movement.
because no one
For people who don't know, the ACT UP movement was the early queer militant movement. It is basically the ACT UP movement in the 80s and the 90s was basically the thing that led us to queer militancy today. It was one of the first major turning points. This guy is telling us now that he was involved in the ACT UP movement directly.
knew how HIV was passed. And so he would leave, he would touch you.
So crazy.
But I think we compromised when
crazy.
it came to, our politics. Just let us live. And even let us get married. What are you thinking? Yeah.
I think the queer folk that came before us have set the precedent for exactly what Sienna was talking about. I mean, people did so much work for so many generations to get us to where we're at now. And now we're seeing the threat of it being taken away. And we're at a point where it's, you can either stay comfortable and try to fit into a binary or fit into a label or position, or be subversive. Try to deconstruct or deconstruct this position we're in now.
Right.
I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I think you said it really well.
And the deconstruction,
And by the way, for someone who said earlier that they're doing everything but calling for the overthrow of the government, deconstruction means the overthrow of capitalist society. The government is capitalist. If you understand their language, they're calling for the overthrow of society. When they're saying we can't assimilate to the binary, we can't go into the binary and put ourselves in these situations, we need to deconstruct these situations. They're talking about abolishing capitalism, which includes the government, it includes the Constitution, etc., etc., etc. Trust me, bro, is not spoken here. Exactly. No trust me, bros. I appreciate it.
It doesn't have to happen in a, we don't have to become anarchists. The deconstruction can be as simple as being true to our own way, and really standing out in this particular university community as a person who won't tolerate the abuse of anyone. Knowing that we can so very quickly find ourselves abused. I mean, one of the ugliest facts of the binary is that queer resistance is usually confronted with sexual assault. So that the most powerful weapon is
all good, Michael. All good. I
Yours.
appreciate it. I understand. It's all good.
Because that is what's going to happen.
In fact,
you all know this about me. I worked for years with Ali Forney Center in Manhattan.
Yo!
Tonight in New York City.
I've heard of the Ali Forney Center in Manhattan before. The Ali Forney Center, isn't that like oh God, what the fuck do they do? I've definitely heard of the Ali Forney Center before in terms of like in the context of the queer liberation, ACT UP, like I forget exactly what they do, but they've been brought up before.
There are about 9,000 homeless children.
Oh, that's right. They give they try to like when gay kids get kicked out of their home or trans kids get kicked out of their home, they basically take them in, is what it is.
On the streets. Most are sex working and drug working. About 60% of them are queer. About 50% of them are brown and black. Very disproportionate in terms of population of 5 boroughs. And Ali Forney is a black, probably we would now say non-binary person.
Uh-oh.
Did fully transition, but clearly not in the camp that the people thought he would be in. He was arrested. And when he was arrested, he was taken to the Catholic home for the night to sleep. And unfortunately, he handed them his ID, which he had to, his school ID, and it showed that he was male. And so they put him in the male dormitory. And when they came in the morning, his jawbone was separated from his face. From other kids. So, you know, we all have this protection because we're pretty privileged to be here in this room, you know, in the spaces that we move around in. But just right under the surface is incredible violence to our community. And the violence that's done us here intellectually is pretty intense. You don't get to read
Intellectual violence.
theory or critical race theory unless you find a sympathetic teacher.
Oh yeah? Like you?
You're going to have a lot more time with Thomas Aquinas than James Baldwin. May not even ever read anything like Baldwin or Virginia Woolf. Or take them seriously anyway. So, you know, I've spent a career here, I'm leaving, and you have moved it. The students have moved race and gender and queerness in substantial ways, and I think that you're at this time where, you know, it's really important that this work, this existential work, take place. That those questions find some community way of responding to them. That the community gets to talk about this. Who are we? What are we here for? Besides the baccalaureate. Where do we come from? Yeah.
I wanted to add to your point about the things that we read and learn here. In my Christian ethics class, we talk about ethics regarding sexuality in the eyes of Christianity. And even the reading that we do that tries to reason for support of non-heteronormative sexuality is so, when I was reading it, my brain went, well, this just isn't very in it, I suppose is the way to describe it. it wasn't even written by a queer person, and you could tell by the way that they wrote, by the way that they talked about it. It wasn't a
Yup.
queer eye looking at this.
Isn't that funny? The students all know what he's talking about. And maybe he's giving them a platform to have these discussions. Okay, fine. He's giving them an ear that they know but they all know. And that is the craziest part of all of this that I really want people to wrap their heads around. Because again, I keep saying, and I keep making fun of conservatives every time conservatives say, because conservatives have done this to me for years. They say, Karlyn, did they really know what they're talking about? Because, it doesn't seem like they all know. They all know. It's the people who don't speak the language of the left that don't know. And because because conservatives don't speak their language, they assume that all the kids in the class are just innocent little darlings that are just having these ideas fed to them for the first time. These kids have been learning this stuff for years. These kids probably started learning this stuff in elementary school. Really think about that. These kids probably started learning this language in elementary school. They know what it means. Now, if you're like me, because I'm a woman of a certain age, I graduated from high school in 1999. If you went to high school in like the 90s or even in like the early 2000s, you didn't have the same schooling experience that these kids have. It's really important that you understand this. If you went to high school in like the 80s or the 90s or like the early 2000s, you didn't have the same educational experience that these kids had. Because when we went to public school, they weren't fully indoctrinating kids yet. They were doing some of it. It was there, but the schools weren't fully captured until like 2010. Okay? That's when I've kind of clocked it. It's not to say it wasn't in schools. It was. But like once you start getting into like the late 2000s, it's in every school. It's in every subject. So if you went I started school in what? Like the mid 80s. Oh God, I'm so fucking old. I started kindergarten in 1986. This shit was not in my kindergarten. This shit was not in my elementary school. I went to a small rural school in Vermont. I actually learned how to read and do stuff like that. I learned how to do math to an extent. When I was in elementary school, this stuff was not being taught in elementary school. When most of you, I think, were in elementary school, this stuff was not being taught. When these kids, because they're college-age kids now, when these kids were in elementary school, let's just do a little game called Fun with Math. Okay, so it's 2025. 2025. These kids, let's say they're 20 years old. So these kids, so minus 20, these kids were born around 2005. These kids started elementary school around 2010. That is after pretty much all schools were completely captured by this ideology. The kids in this classroom, the kids who are in college right now, started learning this material in elementary school. They started learning that gender is not a binary. Gender is fluid, and you can change your gender as easy as changing your outfit, and you need to be nice to people who are outside of the gender binary. They started learning this in first, second, third grade. So this is not a situation where these kids are just getting introduced to these ideas in college. They're coming to college having already been primed for these ideas, and the college is like the advanced level mastery course of reinforcing the entire indoctrination process. Does everyone understand? This is why we are completely fucked, by the way. Because you don't fix this problem by getting this professor fired. Problem's already there. We can try to get him fired, but I doubt we'll be successful at it because he hasn't said anything that's fire-worthy right now. But even if you got him fired, the problem would still be there. Even if you got Seton Hall University to shut down this class in perpetuity, the problem's still there. Even if you shut down every college and university in the country today, the problem is still there, because the problem is in the K through 12 school system. That's the issue. And the K through 12 school system has been indoctrinating the current generation since they were 5 years old. That is the issue. You don't unlearn an ideology that you've been indoctrinated into since you were 5 years old by having someone come up to you and go, excuse me, do you know that your ideas are crazy and wrong and real communism has never been tried? That's what's going on right now on the right, by the way. I know I said I was going to shut up and we're going to listen to the presentation, but I'm on a roll here. So let me cook, okay? Let me cook. The entire conservative strategy for unindoctrinating these kids who have been indoctrinated into this ideology from the time they were 5 years old is to say to them, excuse me, do you know real communism has never been tried? Excuse me, do you know that men and women are a real thing? Do you know that women is a biological category? Do you even know what a woman is? That is the conservative solution to people who have been indoctrinated to a cult ideology since they were 5 fucking years old. And then they laugh at that and they're going, what the fuck are you talking about? No, it's not. Like gender is not binary. Gender is a spectrum and blah, 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 blah. Because that is what they have been learning since they were 5 years old by every single person that they have ever trusted to teach them. You do not undo a culture indoctrination by making a meme to dunk on the libs. This is a cult. This requires a different solution. And if people don't understand how this problem got created, there is no universe in which it's ever going to be solved.
Situation, it was a heteronormative person writing about us. And this actually brings up something we were talking about today about racial justice in my Christian ethics class. The idea of not doing anything regarding us without us being in the process. Which is so ironic.
No. After we learn their tactics, what do? What you're really saying is, I don't want to learn all this stuff because it's boring and it's hard and I don't want to, and they're all crazy and I don't want to. Just tell me what to do about it. That's what you're actually just saying. That's what you're saying. Karlyn, can you just tell me what to do about it? I don't want to, Karlyn, you've been streaming for 3 fucking hours and we've only gotten through half an hour of this presentation. I don't have all day. I don't want to watch a 4-hour stream. Can you just tell me what to do? No. I'm not going to give you the answer. Because if you actually learned their tactics and you actually learn their language, you will know what to do. Until you learn their language and until you learn their tactic, there is nothing that you can do. And I'm not going to give you anything and you get no fucking shortcut. Your job is to sit your ass down and listen until you learn their language and your tactics. And once you do that, you will learn what to do.
When in the exact same class we were reading a piece trying to garner the fact that it is ethical in a way to be different in the heteronormative spectrum of things, while also not even talking to queer people at all about it. And it just did not have the soul of some of the books that we read in this class, the actual mind of a queer person. It just wasn't there.
Right.
So even when you talk about it here, in the one class that we've spoken about it, it was one class that doesn't really even hit the surface, and it wasn't even a queer person talking about it.
Right. What are you thinking, others of you? I mean, is it the time to kind of get out of the abstraction and look at what passes for queer politics and queer religion and queer psychology, queer churches, queer synagogues, have we become a new kind of queer bagman for either the Democratic or the Republican Party? Yeah.
Well, it's very, I have a lot of complicated thoughts, but like, I think that like, if I'm talking about purpose or like the meaning of like what queerness suggests or like what it does is I see it as like individual impact or like the existence being like reason enough almost. Like, I don't think that existence should be defined, but what our existence does is the definition.
Yeah.
So, like, I know, like, from just like my experience that like people who know me and know me personally have a different perspective on the world than others who don't.
Gays are
Like,
not
I
queer.
think- and
Gay
I
and
think
queer is
that's
not the same
something that's
thing.
very powerful. Like, because even if they don't get it, they still know. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have to.
They've been there.
Yeah, they don't have to tap into the consciousness, but they've been exposed. And so, I feel like there's this idea where the problem lies in the attempt to conform because there is no longer this dissonance or this dissent that is being flaunted or being present towards other people. I think that the tragedy of conformity and the tragedy of this need to have safety, because like so many, like I live my life motivated by the need for safety, but what it does is that it removes the impact and the influence that you have on daily life.
That's right.
And I think that,
which maybe it's intentional.
it is, I think, for a lot of people.
That's appropriate, toilet
but
bug.
queerness
Thank you.
is so, I think it's more powerful than that because we see every day how queerness is a defining aspect of humanity. Like, queerness is a thing which influences every single aspect of everything that we consume every day. And maybe some of that is like fetishization or commodification, but like the culture and the art and the things that people consume and the people that disapprove of us even are consuming our ideas and our culture. And that is
This course is called The Politics of Marriage and has been taught at Seton Hall University for the last 15 years. This is a lecture that happened on November 17th of this year.
is in itself an impact. And so I think that I think there's a battle between when the battle between fear and conformity and self-expression, it's the fear that gets in the way.
Yeah.
Because self-expression in many ways is revolutionary.
Yeah. Martin Duberman, who's a scholar for many years at Columbia.
You know what? We actually used to have these, and we still do have them. I think you should make QR stickers for your channel to buy. I gladly stick them all over the place. People get curious when they see your stickers. Some of my T-shirts that I sell in the store actually do have a QR code on the back, and they look really effing cool. But you're right about this. I should revive this. We actually had a whole bunch of stickers made at one point that people were stickering around. And so maybe that's another thing we can do next year. So that's a good suggestion. Nice reminder.
Wrote that it's not that gay marriage is wrong, it's that marriage is wrong.
It's not the gay. This is holy shit. That's exactly the same thing that a libertarian would say, by the way. It's not that gay marriage is wrong. It's not the gay part that's wrong. It's the marriage part that's wrong. Exactly, because they think that marriage is a form of property relationship that allow parents to pass property from parent to child. It also has to do with other stuff too. It's not the gay part that we have an issue with. It's the married part we have an issue with. That is the same argument every time some conservative says, well, I don't even know why marriage is a legal institution anyway. I don't know why marriage isn't just in the church. Like this is, he literally just made exactly the same argument that conservatives make about gay marriage. I don't know why any of it has to be legalized. It should just be through the church, not through the government. Congratulations, conservatives. You agree with the queer Marxists.
And self-expression, it's the fear that gets in the way.
Yeah.
Because self-expression in many ways is revolutionary.
Yeah. Martin Duberman, who's a scholar for many years at Columbia, wrote that it's not that gay marriage is wrong.
Columbia.
It's that marriage is wrong.
Uh-huh.
You know, because it is male-centric. Now, is love wrong? No. Is sexual attraction wrong? Is commitments for long periods of time and is our children or family? None of that is wrong. But the conditions of the contract and of the cultural expression is harmful.
The cultural
And Duberman wrote
expression.
that marriage was a strategic allotment made by heteronormative culture to marginalize queer thinking.
Oh, yeah? Marriage is an allotment made by heteronormative, that means capitalist culture, to marginalize queer thinking. Again?
Marriage was a strategic allotment made by heteronormative culture to marginalize queer thinking.
Because queer is the opposite of capitalist. Queer is the opposite of heteronormative. Heteronormative means upholding the cultural norms that uphold capitalism. Queer is designed to subvert the norms that uphold normativity or capitalism.
And there's a lot to that. But you know, I think also when the reality is that's how you're going to get some rights, that when you're my age, if you don't have, you're screwed, right? And that's a setup. That's a setup. It's a setup for heterosexual people who want to live a certain way and have romantic and meaningful and powerful relationships, but not engage in that contract. That legal contract, have contracts of different sorts, but that legal contract, you know, and I think again, all of this begins like with this organization and its willingness to be ribald and to be, you know, kind of troublemakers and really creative, fun, but also to recognize kind of the existential import of this level of privilege, even if it's all on borrowed money, which, you know, queer people outside of the stereotype of the white cisgender gay guy, hello, but the idea is, I mean, it's a much poorer crowd economically than racial poverty when you compare apples to apples. And it's because of outside of these bubbles, it's very vulnerable. Someone can lose jobs, be arrested, lose housing.
Tommy, shut the fuck up.
Easily. I don't know. So I pitch it back to you, and I think it's a really important question for the group and for myself to consider. Beyond listening to me, but taking the time to really get to what are we here for? What is this association capable of? And I saw the Black community, with the help of a lot of queer people, move a lot of money a couple of years back after many years of being stepped on. It's still not done, but at least people are ashamed to be against it. We're the next. We're the next, and I think it's all in your hands.
Hang on, we got a question over on Rumble, and this is from Wise Elk. Queer is different. It's not straight. Okay, so this is really important to understand. When queer Marxists say the term straight, they do not mean heterosexual. They mean walking the straight and narrow. They mean normal. They mean normativity. Okay. So this is why they had to create a new term called homonormative to say like gays that are assimilating to the mindset of the straights, because straight is not about being heterosexual. Straight is about assimilation to capitalist norms. That's a good question though.
What do you think? And what is existence here? Is it honest? Is existence honest here for queer people? Is it like the space that we talk about when we go to the ghettos? I mean, is it
the ghettos?
I don't feel that. I think that we can sound out a little bit more space. We can sound out a bit more space. Reactions? Thoughts?
Not exactly. Yeah, okay. Am I to understand that queer will always be oppressed as long as homonormative exists? Not exactly, because homonormative is too specific. Queer will always be oppressed as long as capitalism exists. What you're trying to do is you're trying to make it be about being gay or trans. It's not about being those things. You can be a straight white man and be queer. So queers will be oppressed as long as capitalism exists. Queer liberation means the annihilation of capitalism.
Yeah.
I think it all just comes back to the balancing of what is given to us, what is expected of us, and what is willing to be sacrificed. Like, I think that, like, coming from like what you said, like a position of such privilege, there is a sharp and very strong need, like personally, to try to do something more and do something bigger. But I think that this is like a universal experience amongst probably every minority and like all
people.
All people.
Well, okay. Heteronormativity just means normative capitalist values. So anything related to normativity, whether that be heteronormativity or homonormativity, they basically mean the same thing, honestly. It just means people who are in a monogamous marriage where you have kids and you raise those kids to believe in capitalist values. That's all it means. If you're heteronormative, you are a man and a woman in a monogamous relationship, having kids and raising those kids to believe in capitalist values and thus reproducing capitalism. If you are a gay couple and you adopt kids or whatever, you are still having kids in a monogamous relationship, in a nuclear family, and raising those kids to have capitalist values. So that's what they're trying to undo. What queer Marxism is trying to undo is something called social reproduction theory, which social reproduction theory means that social systems will reproduce themselves until they're disrupted. If you have a nuclear family unit that is having and raising kids with capitalist values to grow up, to get a job, to contribute to the economy, to buy property, stuff like that, you are perpetuating capitalism by raising kids with capitalist values and providing new workers to replenish the workforce when older workers retire. That is why they're trying to abolish the nuclear family. The gender binary leads to the nuclear family. That's part of why they go after gender. If they can get rid of the gender binary, they can get rid of the nuclear family. And whether or not mom and dad is a man or a woman, or a man or a man or a man, or a woman and a woman, it doesn't really matter. What matters is you are in a capitalist propertied monogamous relationship where you are having and raising kids with capitalist values to feed and uphold the capitalist system. That is what they're trying to undermine when they're talking about normativity, whether that be heteronormativity or homonormativity or just plain normativity or some other form of normativity is a word they make up. It doesn't really matter. It's always about capitalism. So do they consider the polyamorous couples who are trying to do poly marriages and get them legally recognized by the state to be normative? No. Polyamory is how you queer the nuclear family. Now, they don't want polyamorous marriage to be legalized. As he said, it's not about being gay, it's about the marriage part. They don't want any marriage to be legal because that's still a property relationship. But in terms of like polyamorous couples that are trying to like have like a family of choice sort of thing, they're completely in favor of that. Yeah. But marriage, no. Polyamory, yes.
Well, I would certainly consider, the research shows that as outsiders, but the research is very clear that queer people, because of oppression, which would include any outsider group, have a unique potential within them to experience nature and other beings not as objects to be manipulated and mastered, but as subjects.
What?
There's a sense of equanimity that happens because of the experience of oppression. That I know I know something about you, even not knowing something about you. I know something about you.
Hey, thanks, Shane.
You've
Appreciate
survived in this way. You've mastered this, and that is to be respected. It's to be cherished, and the gift of this subject capacity is equality. And I think for a long time, the queer people have been trying to minimize our differences from heteronormative folk, from binary folk, to kind of minimize our differences.
Binary folk.
And that's an act of survival. I now think for the first time in history, at least in our environment, Black and brown and queer and non-binary people have the ability to maximize the difference. To maximize the difference, to dress the difference, to speak in the classroom to the difference, to move the conversation outside of a heteronormative voice. Just asking the questions. Maximizing our differences is an act of love. It is not necessary for us to see ourselves as oppositional. Because we know enough about social science, you are all experts in that, that so much of what is considered heteronormative is social construction. I'm not so sure there's a great deal of happiness over there if I have to work my entire life so that I have 10 years of retirement at a pissy poor social security number. You know, I think that it is the living in this expanded way that moves the equation, and that's radical. And it doesn't have to be what we had to do, which was, you know, spit on a cop. And
spit on a cop.
And threaten to out people. You know, like all these ridiculous priests. Bunch of closet fags. But it doesn't do any good to...
He just called priest a bunch of closet fags. Oh, I gotta get that clip. Oh, I gotta do it. I have to. Wow, this is at a Catholic university.
And it doesn't have to be what we had to do, which was, you know, spit on a cop. And threaten to out people. You know, like all these ridiculous priests. Bunch of closet fags. But it doesn't do any good to out them because it's contrary to our own ethics. Until they start attacking us. And that's not y'all's. You didn't get those cards. You have different cards. In a way, much more seductive cards. Because you can.
I got it.
More than survive. But I don't think that's why we're here. And that's certainly not where we came from.
Seton Hall University is Catholic, right?
And Ta-Nehisi Coates, as you know, says that all the time.
Seton Hall University is a Catholic university.
And that was scary.
See, we may have just inadvertently stumbled on the thing that could get this guy fired. This guy just got up in front of a classroom and said all of those Catholic priests are a bunch of fags, but we really shouldn't out them unless they're trying to attack us, and then we should because they're trying to attack us. Yo! This is a Catholic fucking university!
Hell. They want him to be a caricature, to prove their virtue. They want us to saw the cartoon.
Yo, we got to get that clip to Jack Posobiec for sure. For sure. 100%.
You know,
actually, let me make that clip now. I'll make it and we can tweet it before the end of the
we can shave
stream.
our legs long enough so that the straight men can think that they can shave their legs too.
Straight men can shave their legs too,
Right?
huh?
I mean, it's just this kind of like we're like the canaries. They're there. There's a lot more that's available. Yeah? What are you thinking? Maximizing instead of surviving. That's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. I've done that here. You know, I've pissed them off. And, but also have very good friends. You know, who are here. So, you know, I'm happy to have this conversation, and I hope you take it into your places. You know, why am I here? Where did I come from? And this remedy of maximize. That's really your generation's. It's been gifted. I've always been amazed because I'm a queer magnet, right? So I get all the queer kids in my classes. And I've always been amazed by those that come out. And I'm so grateful that they could, right? And even if they only do it in the writing, like even all of their crowd still doesn't know, or doesn't at least let them know what they know. So that there's a place where they could write about that and read somebody who else was that way. You know, it's been incredible. And I have students that are 15 and 20 and 30 years out of undergraduate who are living big queer lives.
Big queer lives.
Yeah, big troublemakers and big lovers of this way. It's an incredible gift. This spirit. The Lakota call it Wink Day. And it means, it doesn't really translate, but it's a place and it's a consciousness. And the medicine of the Wink Day is the spider. The tonke, the spider who weaves both chaos and order. And the Lakota and many of the indigenous tribal peoples of the North and South and Central Americas didn't necessarily have an identity for what we would call queer people. And they allowed people just to be fit where they fit, with a piece of cloth. And they put it in the tree as the way of praying for the ways that no one sees, but that the spider weaves. And that always makes sense to me. Right? Made sense to me. So good luck weaving.
Not it. That might be it. Okay, we just got done, but I'm exporting that clip. So guys, stick around for a second. I'm exporting that clip right now. Let me just get some captions on this real quick. Let me do this editing real quick, and we're all gonna share that clip about him calling the priests a bunch of fags together. Okay, this is a nice group project. It's a nice way to end the stream, and then we'll all go watch a movie for movie night. Mac B, what is Mac B showing for movie night in the supporter Discord tonight? I just need to caption this real quick because this requires caption. That requires it, okay? Captions! I need you to highlight the captions. Do the captions. Hang on. How the fuck do I do captions in this? How do I do captions in this? Generate captions. Hang on. I have never done captions in this program before. What are you guys doing for movie night tonight? Let me know. Let's promote movie night. I'm new to your teachings, Karlyn, and have been binge watching a couple days, so forgive me if the dumb questions. Okay. Does the queer community consider race to be a role to be abolished? Yes. That's actually a really astute question. That is a great question because yes, absolutely. They consider race to be a socially constructed category, just like they consider gender to be a socially constructed category. That is actually very, very, very deeply astute of you to figure out. And congratulations for doing that, because most people don't even do that. Okay, hang on. I'm just making the captions a little bit bigger so we can actually see them. Hang on. Okay. Hang on. Oh, yo. Captions got this so good. Okay, I got it. I'm exporting with captions right now. Priests are things. Okay. Open folder. Okay. I'm uploading this to Twitter right now, guys. If you guys have put what is the movie night? What is the movie night? Let me see if people put in the movie in the chat. Tomorrow Never Dies. Thank you. Movie night tonight is Tomorrow Never Dies in the supporter Discord. That will be starting at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Let me just get this tweet up, and we're gonna tweet this out. We're all gonna tag Jack Posobiec, right? Hang on, let me show you guys. I'm tweeting this out right now, and I need everyone to stick around and help me share this. Cynthia in with the 5 gifted channel memberships before the end of the stream. I really appreciate that, Cynthia. Congrats to everyone who got a channel membership. Cynthia is our Thanksgiving fairy. Last week at Seton Hall University, which is a Catholic school, Professor Dr. King Mott, he's a doctor, right? Hang on. Yes. Gave a lecture on the politics of gay marriage, in which he called all the priests fags. Hang on, let me just make sure I have this again. Hang on. I know you guys can't hear this. Here you
Spit
go.
on the cock. And threaten to out people. You know, like all these ridiculous priests. Bunch of closet fags.
Called all the ridiculous priests a bunch of closet fags. A very Catholic teaching at a Catholic university. CC Seton Hall. Is Seton Hall University not... Are they not verified? Hang on. Or do they use their Twitter? Hang on. One of the world's leading Catholic universities. Okay, we're definitely tagging them. All right. Do I need any edits? Is that good? Is that good? You guys are one in the chat if you're on board with this, 2 in the chat if you have a suggestion. Is this tweet look good? Last week at Seton Hall University, which is a Catholic school, Professor Dr. King Mott gave a lecture on the politics of gay marriage in which he called all the ridiculous priests a bunch of closet fags. A very Catholic teaching at a Catholic university. Yeah, we need to be tagging all of the fucking Catholics on this one. All right, sending. All right. I'm pinning this to the top of the chat, guys. I'm pinning it to my profile right now. And I need everyone to tweet the fuck out of this. You guys know the rules. When we're sharing something on Twitter, I put it in the chat. I'm also putting it in the chat over on Rumble. I get that super chat in a second. Thank you for that. Guys, when we are sharing this stuff out on Twitter, I need you to do 5 things for me, okay? I need you to do all these 5 things. This is how we make things go viral on Twitter. The first thing I need you to do is bookmark the tweet. Bookmarking the tweet helps drive the algorithm. I need you to put a heart on the tweet, to like the tweet. I need you to reply to the tweet, and you can say anything you want to, but say something appropriate, okay, or funny or whatever. But just reply to the tweet. You can say literally anything. You can tag influencers that you want to see this. You can say whatever you want, but replying to the tweet drives the algorithm. I need you to retweet the tweet so it just goes get to his shares. Again, it doesn't matter how many followers you have. If you are retweeting it, that drives the algorithm and shows it to more people. And I need you to quote tweet it, which means basically you quote tweet it and you write a comment on it. Again, you can tag whoever you want, but don't do this, okay? If you're going to tag influencers, you have to put a period at the start. Do not start a tweet with an @ symbol, because that is going to limit the reach of the tweet. If you just want to tag influencers, put a period at the start of the tweet, because that's going to get it shown to more people, okay? Do all of those things, and that is how we make shit go viral on Twitter. Has everyone done that? Everyone done their homework? Let's see. Let's see if everyone in the chat does all of those 5 things. This will get tens of thousands of views on the video, and it won't even be that hard. Okay, so everyone replies. You look at all those awesome people replying. That's a particularly lovely reply right there. You know. Okay, whatever. Okay, fine. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. I have an extra quote mark. I don't care. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine how it is. Notice they are recruiting students to overthrow capitalist governments. Far left clearly wants Marxist governments. No, I already read that one. That was earlier. This one is the one I was looking for, Andre. Can you imagine if the Catholics knew they were being infiltrated and indoctrinated? Well, it's actually funny that you say that, because let me show you what I found yesterday. I found this presentation yesterday on YouTube. Queering Catholicism, a new kind of liberation theology. So if the Catholics think they are immune from this, please, 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 please. All right. I also don't have an extra set of quote marks, so whoever said that was wrong. All right, everyone share the tweet. That's it. That's it. Guys, if you want to support the work I'm doing, always make sure you are signed up to the Substack. That is Karlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. Yeah, and we stand Father Mateague. Father Mateague is the best. He is the best Catholic. Okay, maybe there's other great Catholics too. Probably the Pope is probably pretty good as well. You know, whatever. Catholic Father Mateague must be protected at all costs. That's very true. Yeah, tag the Newark Archdiocese. Yeah. Guys, if you are new to the channel and you want to join the Discord for movie night, I did post it out to the community or post tab yesterday. So you should be able to find the Discord link in the community or post tab if you are a YouTube channel member. I also posted it to the chat on the Substack. Again, MacB is going to be watching Tomorrow Never Dies at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So you got plenty of time to get into the Discord, get verified, all that good stuff. And make sure you are sharing the tweet. Let's see. How many people have we chatted share it so far? Listen, I've got 150 people watching right now, and only 46 of you have hearted the tweet, okay? Only 41% of you bookmarked it. Last chance, guys. Come on, don't be a party pooper. And I don't care if you have an excuse about you don't want to be on Twitter. Get your ass on Twitter. This is all the politicians care about. This is how we get people fired from their jobs and cool stuff like that. That is all people care about. So I don't care about your personal misgivings on Twitter. Go fucking retweet it. Go reply to it. Go share it. Go heart it. Go bookmark it. I don't want to be on Twitter either. But you know what? I put on my big girl pants and I do the thing I don't want to do because we need to do it because this is all people care about. Twitter is all people care about. It's just a reality we have to accept if we want to be able to, you know, get people fired from their jobs and stuff. Okay, that's it. That's it. It is time to retire for movie night. I will see you guys in the Discord, and I will be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. And we'll do it all over again. Thank you guys for your help. Thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoyed the class today, and I'll see you tomorrow.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
17. That's difficult to answer.
Some idea.
I am not completely like other people.
What do you mean by that?
People dislike me because I am not completely like them. I am trying to do with my life something which few people try to do, and this influences my thinking and consequently my action.
What is it you're trying to do with your life?
Play the piano for people.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.